Okay, guys, I just threw up some trigger warnings. If you are not comfortable with any of the topics we're going to be discussing or watching today, feel free to leave and come back another time. Oh my gosh, fuck. Sorry, I didn't have that up. My bad. Anyways, feel free to leave and come back another time. I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable by today's stream. It's just something that I'm interested in, and so I'm interested in true crime topics, so that's what we're going to watch today. But seriously, if any of these you feel like might upset you or make you uncomfortable, feel free to come back later, because later tonight we're going to play some Roblox. We don't always watch true crime. 100%. We don't always, so I'm just letting you know. Also, how's everybody doing? Welcome, hi! Dude, this song was started by Villainaire. Oh my god. So, we were playing Overwatch yesterday, and Kevin was like, you guys, he requested Car Radio, and Car Radio is one of my all-time favorite songs. I Live? What's up, Prophet? I haven't seen you in forever! Oh my fucking god, bro. That's crazy. But yeah, Car Radio is like one of my all-time favorite songs. And I haven't listened to 21 Pilots in so long, and he's like, play Car Radio. And I was like, yeah, listen to this shit. They deflate, they fill with fire, exhale desire, I know it's dire, my time today. What's up, Namie? Hi! What I once bought, because somebody stole my car radio, and now I just sit in silence. Also, I'm eating McDonald's, so if you hear me chewing, that's what it is. I might do some art once I finish eating, but for now, we're just gonna watch. I'm alright, I'm searching for my cat right now. I'm walking around with my Chromebook. Well, stream sometimes make it hard, but also... Indeed, we're hanging out, bro. McDonald's order? Okay. I got a large iced tea, a double quarter pounder, and a large fry. That's it. Sometimes I get like 2 cheeseburgers instead of a quarter pounder, but I'm kind of basic, like very vanilla. Nothing fancy, you know. But I was hungry, and when I tell you, let me turn down the music. Good song, but let me turn down. When I tell you that, so I sent a announcement in the Discord server that I was gonna be late because I dropped my mom off at her tattoo appointment. This is the same thing that happened last time I streamed, right? Have to go again because I have stuff to do. Oh, thank you for coming in, though. I'll miss you. Bye. I dropped my mom off at her tattoo appointment, which was 4:11, right? And then I was gonna come back on my stream, but I was like, I'll go. It's the 26th. I told you guys last time when I talked about this that the paint lady told me that the paint would be ready on the 26th. Like, I could pick it up because they would have all the stuff. It's like, cool, okay. So I drive down, and I'm like, there is no fucking way I see the same lady. Like, no way. I do not like this woman. I am upset with her, and she's really mean. Jackers, hi! Hi! Yeah, she's kind of mean. So I'm like, I do not want to see her again. But there's no way 2 weeks later, after I've already seen her twice, that she's here again, right? Like, she can't be the only paint lady. I was indeed wrong. She might be the only paint lady. She comes up, and I barely spoke. I was like, are you able to help me? And she was like, not if you want blue paint. Doesn't have the 3... Yeah, literally. I was like, are you able to... And she was like, yeah, not if you want blue paint, because we don't have blue paint still. And I was like, are you serious, bro? First of all, she was the one who told me to come back on this day. And then second of all, like, I didn't even finish my sentence, and she, like, cut me off and was like, no. And I was like, I'm leaving. So I fucking left. I was ready to rip my hair out of my head. What? Yeah, literally. I was like, what did I do to offend her? I don't know. But fucking mean. And so, okay, I leave. And I tell my mom, and I was like, yeah, like, there's still no paint, right? The base was there. I checked for the base, but apparently there's no blue paint still, which doesn't make any sense, right? Because blue is a fucking primary color. And you're a paint store. Well, not completely. They're like a general store, but you know what I mean. And so I was like, they have to have this fucking paint, bro. Doesn't make any sense. I work at a clothing store, but it is parent-owned by this company store that I was going to. So I sort of know some of the rules and regulations on how it works and the way that they're supposed to act. But that store has such a negative reputation for being just mean to customers. It's crazy. Blue is a primer. That's what I'm saying. Listen. can you not buy paint on, like, Amazon? I probably could, but I don't know how efficient that would be. There is another store. My mom just told me to go to that store after and just go to that store after and pick out a color and get paint there. So I'm gonna try to do that after stream. But I was too frustrated and I was like, I'm fucking going home. No, I'm done. And you need blue paint to make any color of paint. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like a very important color, bro. So I'll go after the stream, which will probably be in like a couple hours. I'll go to the hardware store and try to see if I can get paint from them. It's not going to be the same color that I want, which is kind of disappointing, but what can you do, right? And, fucking everybody on the road is a bunch of dipshits. I'm going to complain on my ass today because I'm in a mood, but everybody on the road is just losers. I don't understand. Oh my god, my cheeseburger is becoming sad. Hold on, I need to take a bite. But everybody on the fucking road, like, there's this guy who's speeding down 2 different lanes. Like, I'm turning out of fucking McDonald's to get into, we have one road that goes through our entire town, but it has a couple different lanes, like 2 on each side, right? And there's this one fucking guy going at least 70 in a 50 zone down the middle lanes, so I can't turn. He just about fucking hits me. And, like, people in the parking lot are crazy. Like, you know, like, elderly people when you don't think that they should be driving, but they are driving. 70, yeah, literally. And, like, I was like, you know, like, there's, like, some elderly people that, like, definitely should not be driving, but they're driving, and you're like, what the fuck? It was one of those experiences where, like, this guy was going super slow, and he was, like, trying so hard not to hit my car. But it was like, bro, you should not be driving. You should, bad. So bad. Yeah, I don't know. And literally, like, the other day when I was at work, it was Friday. This was Friday. And I don't know if I talked to you guys about this or not. But, like, it was like, I'm not hating on elderly people. I'm just saying that this is what happened. I was dressed in full goth attire on Friday. Not, like, trad goth or anything, but, like, just, like, completely black clothing, chains, my hair was done up, whatever. Like, I had makeup on. But it was, like, on Friday, goth for the, yeah! It was, like, on Friday, and I was completely dressed up, and we only seemed to have, like, elderly people on Friday come to our store, and they would refuse to talk to me. I was like, is there anything I can help you find? No. Yep, sorry, are you sure? Like, okay, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you're already fucking 2 feet in the grave. Why are you talking? What the fuck? Disrespectful. So, just crazy, bro. Just, it's crazy. I would not talk to you either. Goddamn, how mean. Okay. You make me nervous? Bro, damn, that's crazy. Apparently, I was making these old people nervous because they thought that I was gonna fucking, like, summon Satan from the ground. Okay, boys. What are we gonna watch? Those people tick me off. Just because my eyeliner's good doesn't mean I'm gonna, like, sacrifice. That's what I mean, bro. Like, just because I'm dressed up in all black doesn't mean that I'm gonna kill your firstborn, bro. Okay. Let's see. Killer line dances but doesn't know. Okay, we gotta watch this one. Hold up. I gotta pause the music. Pause the music! No, stop. Stop playing 21 Pilots. Fucking top, shut up. Okay. This one, we're gonna watch this one. Killer line dances but doesn't know 17-year-old victim is alive. Imagine, like, you're just having, like, such a great time that, like, you just start fucking line dancing. You're like, I did it. I killed him. And then, like, 20 minutes later, they're like, yo, what's up, shawty? Okay. Bang, bang, bang. I'm gonna eat my cheeseburger while we do this, but I will also give great commentary. Look at it, the line dancing! I've never been line dancing. I feel like that's probably something weird considering I'm, like, Canadian and they do that shit. Like, we're very country, at least in my area. Like, BC, Alberta, kind of country, you know? That polo! It'd be like that. But I've never been line dancing. Not a fan of country music. This would not be me, but, you know.
Pay attention to the man in the red sweater and the blue cap. At first
Oh
glance...
man, it is him! Red sweater, that's a fucking polo. Hold on, go back, 2 seconds.
Pay attention to the man in the red sweater and the blue cap.
Red sweater? Whatever, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna fucking eat my cheeseburger.
He looks perfectly normal, but the truth is, he attacked a 17-year-old girl, dragged her body into the woods, and left her for dead. Was it done in a fit of rage, or in cold blood? The most disturbing thing about this video is it was filmed on April 27, 2006, mere minutes after the murder.
Whoa, so he murdered her and then he went line dancing?
She's breathing.
That's a black cab, isn't it?
Get EMTs.
Yeah.
Assaulted, paralyzed, and left for dead. 17-year-old Ashley Reeves never thought having a
Ashley
friendship
has nice
with a
makeup.
gym teacher would end up nearly
He wears a red
costing her
polo,
her
blue
life.
jeans, and a black baseball cap,
But
and
she
then goes
survived
line dancing
because of
after
the
he murders
relentless
somebody.
officers who found her in the nick of time. They were out in the woods looking for a body, but she was there fighting for her life.
Let's go.
Still boggles my mind that I could.
Bro, trying to be a middle
that
school
right
PE teacher. Oh my
In
god.
the small village of Millstone.
Sorry, I was about to eat my cheeseburger, but let me tell you, we had in high school. I was only in high school for 2 years, right? Well, like 1.5, because I dropped out in 9th grade. I'm finishing school right now, by the way, so nobody make any sassy comments. But we had a PE teacher. He was so creepy. He wouldn't just go into the women's change room like while we were changing. He would also go into the men's, right? Which like sounds weird, but he was definitely doing things that he would not do in the women's. Like he would come in randomly, be like, "Ladies, time to go," and we'd be like, "Bitch, we did not allow you in here. Hello, what the fuck?" But he would go into the men's, and I knew some guys at the time who were like, that guy would go into the change room and like grab his sack while the boys are changing, and I'd be like, "Ugh." Really creepy man, really creepy man. I had a lot of creepy teachers. I could tell a lot of creepy stories.
Illinois,
Yeah,
sporty
indeed.
teenager Ashley is living with her parents and her younger sister, Casey, who looks up to her.
She was a strong person. She was always out. She had a lot of friends. She knew what she was going to do in life.
She was smart. She never really drank a lot or was into drugs or anything like this, and she was basically very responsible.
She has a loving boyfriend, but this particular week, she got in a fight with him. It's
No,
April
she got in a
27,
fight with a
2006. Ashley leaves the house at around 3 p.m., informing her mother that she has a job interview in a neighboring town. She drives off in her boyfriend's pickup truck. It's 10:30 that night. Ashley
Pause.
never showed up.
She got in a fight with her boyfriend, but she's driving his pickup truck. I mean, I never had a boyfriend, so I don't know if that's like chill, but I mean, also like I guess if I was a boyfriend, even if I was fighting with my girlfriend, I'd be like, you have an interview? Yeah, take my car. I know we're mad at each other, but like this is a good interview, bro. But also like, I would not want to get a job in the neighboring town. She took it from him. Yeah, right. The boyfriend was fucked up, so homegirl got trucked up. Yeehaw! Yeehaw! She went to go line
To
dancing.
take care of her little sister like she promised. Not being home before 10, her curfew has never happened.
It was always the rule that, at 10 o'clock, if you can't make it, that phone better be ringing by 10 o'clock. Don't make me worry.
Ashley isn't answering her phone or any of her texts. Michelle, her mother, starts to panic. Her and Casey look around the house for clues as to where...
Yeah, I would panic too, because like, if your kid never has missed curfew once, but like if she's going to, she has to at least call, but she's not picking up her calls past 10, and your kid doesn't do that kind of stuff, I would be panicking. One time, I don't have curfew, right? But one time, my mom was really mad at me, and I was out with my friend. I think it was like 8, it was close to 8 p.m. maybe. But we had walked from our house up to a local like pizza place, and we were like all the way uptown, and she calls me or texts me, and she was like, "Girl, you better get your ass home by 8 p.m. and if you don't, like, you're losing your entire existence, bro. You'll never see the light of day again." And I was like, we have no vehicle. We're like fucking 15, maybe 16. And I was like, hey, how am I supposed to teleport home? I was like, Mom, there ain't no way, bro. Like, I have 5 minutes. Like, it's 5 minutes to 8 o'clock. And we are uptown, bro. She was like, you better. And I was like, I tried to like drag my friend home. She was just like lollygagging because she was like, she's a only child. She had no problems. She was like, not my mom, not my problem. And I was like, I'm gonna die. Yeah, it was terrible.
Where she might have gone.
I
Casey
made it
thinks
though,
of checking
because
the
I'm
family
fat.
cell phone
Literally.
bill. She finds dozens of calls from an unknown number to Ashley's phone.
And she opens it up and she goes, "Oh." And I go, "What?" And she goes, Mom, this is all the same number. And I said, well, call it. Whose number is it?
When Michelle calls the number, on the other end is a familiar voice. Sam Shelton, a gym teacher Ashley has become close friends with.
I knew she was.
Also, like, how do you be friends with your teacher? I was like friends with my teacher in the sense that like we talked and he did not like me. Like he liked me, okay. Dude is like, the running, let's get it started. No, on God. But like, I would never ever get a call from my teacher to have like just a casual conversation. Teacher's pet. Yeah, but even teacher's pet, like, relationships for teachers and students should not happen outside of school unless there's like a specific reason, you know? Like if the teacher's helping you out for something, da-da-da-da. But that many phone calls from a fucking teacher, guys, I think we have to sound the alarms or...
I was in contact with Sam. I actually thought he was a very nice guy.
Michelle asks Sam if he has any idea where her daughter could be.
He was very respectful, very polite. Reassured me that he was sure that there was nothing to worry
He's
about.
like, don't worry,
Michelle
nothing to
knows
worry
her daughter
about.
would never miss curfew,
My
so she
teacher was
calls
nice
the
to me.
sheriff's
Yeah,
office
right?
to report Ashley missing.
Well, unfortunately, we get a few calls that are like that, but there was something with her voice that really sounded very stressful. And I said, you know, Captain, this one sounds a little bit different. I think we probably need to run with this one right away.
As
Like,
the
my
police
teacher would
begin
never
their
call me after
investigation,
school.
Michelle is worried sick at home. She calls all of Ashley's friends. Everyone tries to get in contact with her, to no avail. Michelle spends a sleepless night waiting for a call, fearing the worst.
Every horrible thought there possibly could be is going through your head and running it over and over and over, and you're thinking, oh, you know, this is the stuff you see on TV. This can't be, I may never see my child again. And that is the most horrible feeling in the world.
April 28th. It doesn't take long for the cops to find the pickup truck Ashley was driving, parked
Oh,
less
I
than
feel
10
so
miles
bad.
from her house, at Latterman Park. Inside, they find clothes she brought for her interview, and basketball clothes.
Why would, you know, a young female want to, you know, be play basketball in a park far away from school?
The question makes the officer wonder if Ashley was hiding something.
Maybe
But
because
there's
she
no
don't want
trace
to play
of Ashley.
basketball where her teacher could
Police
see her.
have no choice but to bring in the usual suspects.
Um,
Ashley's boyfriend, Jeremy Thomas Smith, had a fight with her that Wednesday. He's the first name on the list.
Can you state your full
No,
name?
no, female.
Jeremy Thomas Smith.
And when was the last time that you talked to her?
It was yesterday it was around noonish, about between like 11 and 1. I called her, left a voicemail earlier that morning. She called me on lunch to see what I wanted, and I
yeah,
asked if
because
she
they
could
have
be
to
truck
question the
driver.
most people,
She
like
said
closest
no.
to her, right?
So I'm gonna go to this interview, and I'm gonna go play basketball.
This confirms what Lieutenant Michael Hundelt suspected. She had arranged to meet someone to go play basketball. Why didn't she tell her mom or her sister she was going to play basketball? According to Lieutenant Hundelt, Jeremy isn't raising any suspicions. His tone of voice is appropriate. His explanations are coherent.
He seemed like he cared for
Safe.
Ashley quite a bit,
Yeah,
but I
he's-
had a
oh my
strong
God,
feeling
he's
that he
crying.
didn't really know anything that was going on.
At this point, Jeremy is the only person aware that Ashley was headed to Latterman Park. But who was Ashley going to meet there? Only one name comes to mind.
Sam, the teacher that is a friend of yours, I believe.
Mhm.
What's their relationship like? What's that?
Just a friend.
Do they play basketball together?
They played a couple times that I know of.
Do they talk quite a bit with each other? Or?
Yeah, they talk a lot. He calls whenever, I'm around, and which, like I said, I don't mind.
That's so
Lieutenant
weird.
Hundelt takes notes of the phone
That's so
calls made by
weird.
Sam Shelton. As you will see later on, it will come in useful.
Why would a teacher be
Lieutenant
calling a
Hundelt can tell
child?
Ashley's boyfriend is fully aware of the close relationship between Sam and his girlfriend, but they still can't understand how Ashley's meeting with the 26-year-old gym teacher led to her disappearance.
But yeah, you're a 26-year-old gym teacher.
I don't think he would ever do anything to harm her. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's his nature.
He was actually considered at the time a minor lead, because what had been told to us was he was
Literally!
a friend of Ashley's
Take him
that they
in!
would just kind of play
Take him in
basketball
right
together.
now.
Lieutenant Hundelt and Sergeant Stockett take the young coach
Oh
out
my
of
God, there he
basketball
is!
practice.
Just state your name for the record. Sam Shelton.
Sam Shelton is respected by all, admired by many,
He not
and
respected by
occasionally
me.
causes teenage girls to fall for him.
He knew he was good looking and charming, and
All the students seem to love him. Hi, Mr. Shelton, very respectful of him.
His reputation even spread to a neighboring high school like Columbia, where Ashley is a student. But even if everyone loves perfect gym
Hold on.
teacher Sam,
First of all, yeah, creepy. Second of all, Ashley is not even a student at his school. I'll be right back. I found the cat. Let's go. Kitty! He's not even a teacher at her school. He's a teacher at a neighboring school. So, like, they don't have any fucking connection whatsoever then. That's so... How is that not weird, guys? How is that not weird?
Something's off. Why would a teacher hang out with a 17-year-old girl from a different
That's
school?
what I'm saying!
When the interrogation begins, they find that Sam is very friendly and cooperative, but he denies having seen her at all that day.
I really
Free
do not
literally,
know
that's what
where
I'm
she
saying.
is. I have no idea.
In
Who's
fact,
being
he denies having
defensive?
any sort of relationship with Ashley in the first place, which tips
His tone of voice is obviously giving him away because the way he's going, I have no idea. I seriously don't know, guys. Leave me the fuck alone. Like, bitch, just say you killed her and get over with it.
off the interrogators. They confront him with the pages
Yeah, because
of
why
phone
would he
records showing
lie about
hundreds
being
of
in a
calls
relationship
and
with her?
text messages he exchanged with Ashley. Right away,
I'm just saying, if you're not a weirdo, if you're not a weirdo, there is no reason to lie to police. Because that just makes you more suspicious, bro. Are you stupid? Like, so weird.
Sam changes his story. Now
No, he
admits
changed his
being close
story.
to Ashley, saying that she came after him.
I
What?
think she kind of started becoming obsessed with me.
She's
Like
a
I said, she's
child!
calling me literally non-stop at times.
This time, Lieutenant Hundelt recalls what Ashley's boyfriend Jeremy said in his interrogation.
He calls whenever, you know,
On God.
I'm around, and, which, like I said, I don't mind.
Yeah, so Jeremy's saying that the teacher calls them, and the teacher's saying that she calls him, like, she's obsessed with him. First of all, one, she's still a fucking child. Like, she's not even 18, she's 17. Second of all, so, like, you could just ignore her. Second of all, if you didn't want her calling, why would you have her number? Like, you know what I mean? Like, first of all, teachers and students should not be swapping numbers. But also, like, if you didn't want her calling, then you should not have her number, bro. I'm just saying.
Apparently, Sam is the one who calls Ashley all the time.
Literally!
But now, he's trying to convince interrogators he never wanted anything to do with her.
Literally!
Something wasn't right with this guy. He kept changing his story. After hours and hours, he would add more information or change what he initially said.
I felt like he
Weird.
knew more than what he was telling us.
The interrogators are beginning to see clearly now. Sam is hiding something.
Uh-huh!
And it's more than just his friendship with the teenage girl. But as time passes, their chances of finding Ashley alive decrease rapidly. They can't wait around. They have to make him talk.
We know something happened to Ashley. And we know, without a doubt, the investigation clearly shows without a doubt, Sam, that you know what happened.
Oh, he knows what
Finally,
happened.
after hours of questioning and going around in circles,
Did he crack?
Sam's defense begins to crack.
He's cracking!
He confesses he did see her that day.
He called me back at about 6:50. Was talking to her. She went to me up at Latterman Park about 3:45, 4 o'clock, somewhere around there.
When he said, I met her at the park that day, that right there it kind of gave me the uh-oh feeling that
Literally.
there's something wrong here.
Gee whiz, the adult making
back and forth, down
buds
there.
with the
And
minors on
somebody
God,
explained,
right?
I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I pulled over there on the side of the road to talk because I could not stand. So I mean, she was screaming and yelling. I could not stand to listen. I got mad and I said, "Please get out." And she wouldn't get out. So I put the car in park, went over, opened up my door, and I pulled her seatbelt off, and I pulled her and set her out there.
Hold on.
The officers don't buy his story.
Pause. Even if this was a real story and like they're in his car driving and they're arguing and he wants her out the car and he puts her out of the car like with his fucking strength, right? Like he gets her out of the car and then he leaves her on the side of the road. That's still fucked up in itself. Even if he didn't kill her and that was a real story, which obviously it's not a real story, but even if he didn't kill her and that actually happened, like how fucked up is that? Like you have to be to do that, bro. That's like yeah, it's a like yeah, you're frustrated, but that's literally a child, and you as the adult have the moral sense to respect her. Yeah, I just mean like you as an adult are supposed to be protecting the child, especially as a teacher. And so even if this was a real story and he put her out of the car, like it would still be wrong. Not as wrong as what he actually did, but still.
The problem is, in Sam's version, Ashley is alive and well.
I think he was going to try to just manipulate us continue to talk to us and be cooperative, just kind of play along.
Yeah,
and
as
hope
best
this
as he
all just
could.
go away.
I left her there, is what I did. I left her out there by Radio Range Road. I left her right out there.
I
You
left
mean
her
to
out
tell
there.
me that
I
this
told
is
you
a
I left
person
her
that
out
you
there.
cared for,
I
that you
changed the
left her on
story
the
like
side of the
12
road, that
times.
you didn't even try to talk to her
That's
or
what I'm
call her
saying.
after that? I said, I find it hard to believe.
And it was points, I'm going to be
Well,
honest with
listen
you.
to this.
where I
I'm
was
gonna
just
set
like,
up my iPad,
These
my
guys not giving us
tablet, my.
anything.
Sam's
drawing
not
tablet?
telling
Yeah,
the truth.
same diff.
It's been 30 hours since Ashley
Fucking
disappeared,
dumb,
and the
bro.
investigators are beginning to think Sam might never give in. Time is running out. Chief of Police Stephen Johnson comes in to talk to Sam
Really dumb ass
alone.
motherfucking man,
He
bro.
uses
Thanks
his
to do
personal
that shit.
connection with him to pull at his heartstrings. This is where the first real break
No,
happens.
he just
If
says
I
has no
left from
plausible
here,
story. He's just
and I
like
went
going
and talked
off.
to Grandma right now, and I laid down this whole story that you're saying. What's Grandma gonna say?
I just want to go home. I just want to explain to Mom and Grandma exactly what happened.
Well, you want to tell him you try to kill a child?
Your mom's not here.
Oh,
But you know what? In a way, they are.
I want to explain to mom and
Because
grandma.
everything
Your
they
mom
taught
and
you,
grandma gonna be disappointed
all
with
the
you.
thoughts Grandma had with you are within you. All of them are. And unfortunately, right now, Sam, you ain't telling us the truth.
On God, you get him. Poor on God having this as a grandson.
You have to. For Mom. For Grandma.
For
When
grandma.
he asked to be alone, I knew he was ready to confess.
Can I go show you what happened?
Please. She's still out there, Sam.
Oh my God.
She is. And where's it at?
That's sure. Are you ready to were there? I just say grabbed the next thing
Like, why?
choked her out there.
Sam's depiction of what he did to Ashley is too graphic. Out of respect for the victim, we won't be sharing this part of the interrogation. After 12 hours of
Respectable.
grueling interrogation, the officers switch into high
Well,
gear
yeah, 'cause
and
now they
speed
have to
toward
see if
the
they can
area
find
Sam is
her.
leading them to. But according to Sam, all they're going to find is a body.
70 car. Okay, came in there. I don't know. I came in the woods and I just started moving.
It's raining.
They got him
freezing.
so fast,
Sam
though.
can't seem to find his bearings and is walking in circles.
After we had walked through the woods for probably 20, 30 minutes or so, I was beginning to wonder if he was maybe just kind of taking us on a wild goose chase and playing with us again.
Oh, hey, right there.
Finally, flashlights land on a grisly discovery. Ashley's broken body is laying there,
Oh.
arms stiff up front.
No.
She was
bro.
laying on the ground, on her back, obviously deceased.
There was thousands of insect bites all over her. She'd been out there for a long time.
No.
All of a sudden, they
The
notice
thing is, there's so many like cases where like either they never find them or the killer just never gives away their location. Because you can know that like the killer did it, but a lot of times the killer wants to keep that one last power trip and hold the body over your head. So you're always going to be like, where's my child or my family member or my friend? You'll never know because the killer wants to keep that little bit of power over you because that's the only power that they have left in this situation.
her chest is moving.
She's breathing. She's breathing.
After more than 30 hours on the ground outside, under rain and frost, Ashley is holding on to life. The officers can't believe what they're seeing.
Get EMTs. Get EMTs.
I saw her chest rise, and it was just like, oh my God.
Ashley?
It was just panicky.
Ashley, can you hear me? Can you talk to me? Oh my God, we found her. She's alive.
The
After
EMTs
30
have to clear
hours,
a path
that's
through
insane.
the woods to carry her out. It takes them an hour to get her inside the ambulance and on her way to the hospital. But as Ashley is barely holding on to life, every second they risk losing her.
I didn't have a whole lot of faith that she was going to survive the trip to the hospital.
My concern was
Well,
that,
yeah, 'cause she
that
survived
she may
30
not make it
hours.
through the night or may not make it through the next couple days or so.
Ashley's mom, Michelle, is terrified at the idea that her daughter might not make it through the night.
There's no blink
The
response or pain
suspense is
response
like
or
raising, bro.
anything. This is bad.
But as she
Yeah,
held on
right?
to life
She
in the
held on
woods,
so hard for
beyond what
30
doctors thought
hours.
was statistically impossible, Ashley beats the odds and survives.
And she survives, which is crazy.
Her
like,
recovery
so
is slow,
strong.
and she requires constant care and physical therapy. Her brain and spine were greatly affected. She has to relearn everything, how to walk, but also how to talk. Ashley has no memory of that
Oh,
evening.
that's so sad.
She still doesn't understand what happened to her, how Sam, who she considers a dear friend, could have done something like this.
I want to know exactly what happened to me. For the longest time, I didn't want to believe that Sam did it.
But the perfect picture she holds of that man she called her friend is quickly tarnished when she hears what he said during the interrogation, but more importantly, what he did after he left her for dead.
He went fucking line
Sam
dancing!
Shelton was caught on tape line dancing at a local club mere moments after the attack.
Ugh. Very, very aggravating. He was one of my good friends, and he dumped me in the woods and went dancing.
And on his phone, text messages to other teenage girls
Ew.
show he didn't wait long to go flirting again.
We've had several families come forward, and he...
Hollow, not good. This guy, he's a predator to children. This guy, he dumped her body in the woods and then he went line dancing. She lived though, which is like super amazing and like super awesome for her. But this guy, he's a fucktard.
He's had numerous relationships with other
children.
young girls.
But he doesn't seem to have much remorse when he asks this particular question after his confession. And remember, this happened before he took the police to see Ashley. It seems he was more worried about his well-being in jail than about helping the cops.
So
Am I
fucked
able
up.
to get like a little private toilet because I can't pee and move people around because of my urinary stress disorder?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I'll be miserable.
Are you fucking kidding me? He hasn't even led them to help find Ashley. He's like, am I gonna get a private toilet in prison? He used to burn in a fire, literally.
Well, if I can't pee.
Yeah.
The question
Fuck
remains,
this guy.
what
No
triggered
private
Sam
toilet.
to
Be
act
miserable.
like this? Did Ashley say something that set him off?
Yeah, and he never even explained
Ultimately,
why
I
he
don't
did it.
think there is anything that I could have done to even set anybody off like that.
One thing she does remember is his fiery temper.
He definitely liked to get
I'm gonna remove his goddamn bladder if he cares so much about his. Literally!
Did you find it odd when he was text messaging you all the time? You said he kind of wanted to know where you were all the time.
At the time, I didn't, but now that I think about it, should have caught on, but it didn't.
Well, yeah, she was a
Police
child.
think
It's not
he
her
wanted
fault
more from his
that she
relationship
didn't
with
catch
Ashley,
on.
but couldn't take the rejection.
Originally, he had said that they
Yeah, 'cause
played
she has a
basketball,
boyfriend.
and then he had said they were friends.
And he's fucking
and then he had said
27.
he wanted a relationship with her.
I don't know if that's what he wanted. I mean, because I was in a serious relationship at the time. I guess kind of in time we grew closer because we did hang out and play basketball so much.
Oh my
He wanted to
fucking
keep
God,
it
bro.
very secret that we were spending time together and playing basketball together. If the principal found out or one of the other teachers found out, then he would lose his job.
Yeah, because he shouldn't be hanging
As
out with
Ashley
fucking
recovers
minors.
from her injuries and trauma, she's preparing to
Or
face
just
Sam in
children in
trial.
general, bro.
His lawyers claim the confession video cannot be used in court because it was recorded before the cops read him his rights. But the judge rules against it, and the evidence will be eligible in court. Because of this, Sam Shelton pleads guilty to attempted
Oh,
murder.
bro.
The judge sentenced him to 20 years in prison in 2007. Ashley doesn't let what Sam Shelton did to her stray her from
He's
her
gonna be
path.
out in 3 years.
For
Are
a
you
long
serious?
time, she couldn't walk. The thought of running like she
I guess,
loved
like,
to, or
parole
play
and stuff.
sports, was a long way down the road. But at a time when she
On
was
God,
ready to give
bro.
up,
No
she
private
tackled
toilets
the
for
most
you.
unusual task. She decided to watch the recovery video of her rescue.
I just felt like I wanted to see. I wanted to know where I started. It kind of just gave me a sense of strength and kind of how far I've come.
One of her proudest moments, she says, was walking across the finish line at a fundraising race organized in her honor.
Whenever I was cheering and then all my friends started crying, it was very overwhelming, and I think
Her hair
I
is beautiful
had
in that
some
video.
time
Look at her
to-
hair.
I knew that
I
I
used
was
to get
getting
it anymore.
somewhere.
Some
and
guys
I
are
knew
like,
that I
yep.
can do this.
That's
And all these
insane. Yeah, look
people
at her
are
hair.
here
It's
to
so
back
nicely
me up.
braided.
I can do what I want to do, and I am going to do what I want to do.
Now, after years of rehabilitation, with grit and determination, Ashley Reeves has come a very long way.
Good
She's
for
a
her.
loving mother of 2 children.
I pushed myself to do better, to be stronger.
She's tough. One of the toughest people that you would meet.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Today,
the fact that she
she
survived
hopes her
30
story
hours is
can
insane,
inspire
bro.
others in their darkest hour.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up on yourself. There's bigger, better things out there. I've gone through plenty of hardships, and it's just keep fighting. Every day it's a struggle, but you just gotta keep on charging.
She did great. Also, fuck that other guy. I hope he did not get any private toilets. Not that I'm gonna Google it, but no private toilets for fucktards, bro. Sorry, genuinely, it's true though. Like, homeboy does not deserve a fucking private toilet. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my drawing tablet, and I'm also going to switch the view of the I'm gonna switch the view of the video so that we can watch it in the corner like we did last time. Oh, what happened there? Why? Hold on. It won't let me show my YouTube. Why is that? Okay, hold on. I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah, it's not even an option. That's so weird. 41 minutes already? Yeah, we were fucking zooming in that video. Why is my YouTube not an option? I'm so confused. Oh, there it is. That was so weird. Okay. This is actually a great size. Okay. Yeah, how's the kitty? Lulu Sushi! Thank you so much for the follow! Okay. Let me pull up my Clip Studio and then we will change the video. Also, I think I gotta let my dogs out, so I might just be 1 second. I want to make sure they've gone to the bathroom because they ate breakfast not that long ago. I need to open a new file. There we go. And then. That's the one, and I'll be right back, guys. I'll just be like 1 second. I'm back! Okay. I just had to let my dogs out. My sister's gonna let them back in, so we'll grab another video, and then I'm gonna think of what to draw. I'll probably just draw the same shit that I normally do. Welcome back, thank you! Let's see. When loud music leads to murder, the case of the Carr family. We'll watch this one, guys.
This was the Dubberly family. Before 1988, they lived a happy life in Alturas, Florida. They went to
Let's
church
draw,
every Sunday
boys.
and never caused any trouble. On June 14th, 16-year-old Dwayne Dubberly found a disturbing letter in the mailbox, threatening the family to move out of Florida, or they would all die.
What?
When Dwayne showed the letter to his parents,
Twins like
his
Mom.
mother Peggy started to worry, while her husband Pi dismissed it as a prank. October 23rd, 4 months later, Dwayne's mother, Peggy, fell suddenly ill, complaining of nausea and
What we
extreme
drawing?
pain,
I don't know
losing
yet.
large
I'm not
amounts
sure.
of hair. As her condition got worse, Peggy's husband Pi refused to take her to the hospital.
Well, why?
1 week later, Peggy fell into a coma.
Hold on.
Her son
Why did her husband refuse to take her to the hospital? I mean, I don't even know, but what the fuck?
Dwayne started having the same
That's what I'm saying. If my wife is sick, I mean, maybe this is an American thing because, like, America doesn't have free health care, so, like, it'd be really expensive if you took him to the hospital. But, like, it's my wife, bro. I'd be shilling out all the money for my wife, bro.
symptoms. December 2nd, police identified the cause of the sickness as thallium, a deadly chemical used in rat poison. When
What the fuck,
authorities tested
thallium?
the remaining members of the family, all of them showed high amounts of thallium, even Pi, Peggy's husband. The mystery that threatens the life
Someone
of Dwayne
fucking
and his
poisoned him with
family would
thallium?
remain unsolved, unless, by some miracle, one undercover agent could catch the killer before he makes another victim.
Go,
Murder
undercover
somebody by
agent.
poisoning is exceptionally rare.
This takes a
Save
great
the
deal
wife, I
of
don't care
intelligence.
shit,
This
but,
is
like,
not a
literally-
brute force weapon.
He was a very evil, very devious person.
Susan could have very well
wanna
been
draw a
his
little
next
guy.
murder victim.
They want to sit from afar and watch
I want to
someone
draw, like,
suffer.
a little guy. Hold on. Okay, glove,
He's
here we
not the kind of person to get mad. He's the kind that would get even.
That could be messy.
Yeah, I would imagine.
The year is 1988. 16-year-old Dwayne Dubberly lives a happy life with his loving family. His mother, Peggy, works as a waitress at the local diner. After years of raising 3 children on her own, she marries Pi Carr, who has 2 children himself.
They seem to be happy. My mom
5
loves
children?
them more than anything.
We've seen all the heartbreak
That's
that
5
she
children.
had gotten in her life. I was hoping that Pi was going to be the one.
The nuclear family moves in together in the quiet town of Alturas, Florida, a perfect place to raise a family where nothing bad ever happens and no
That's
one
what I'm
knocks their
saying.
door.
I guess that was
October
the time,
23rd, in the early hours of the morning,
Okay, I gotta pause this for a second, but we always hear about people being like, it was a quiet town. People don't lock their doors. People fucking left their front doors wide open. All the neighbors knew. Bitch, I don't care if I'm living in a town where I know everybody. I will always lock my doors. I have a coworker, and she, I don't know where she lived before, but she lives in our town. And she leaves her car unlocked, and then her car gets robbed. And then she's like, oh no, how could my car be robbed? It's like, you left it unlocked, bro. People don't lock. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's stupid. It's like, even if you know the people in your area, you never really know a person, bro. Like, just lock your fucking doors. No worries. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe you can trust them very slightly, but I would still lock the doors to my house. It's just a safety thing. I mean, I'm, like, super fucking paranoid, and I've watched a lot of true crime, so honestly, like, I'm always gonna lock my doors. But, like, people who don't are just dumb, bro. Like, I'm not saying you're asking for it, but you're being stupid, because that means that anybody doesn't have to struggle to get into your house or your car or your safe or whatever the fuck you're not locking, your business. Like, people are dumb, bro. I'm not saying that obviously nothing is their fault. Well, it's their fault that they didn't lock the door, but, you know, they're just too trusting, which is like a downfall, but like, they didn't deserve anything. I'm just saying that they should lock their doors.
Peggy leaves for work. Shortly after arriving at the diner, Peggy begins to feel ill, complaining of burning in her legs and feet and an intense chest pain. When Peggy is taken to the hospital, she is almost incapacitated. Doctors put her under observation and collect blood samples for tests. But as every test comes back negative, her physician is unable to make a diagnosis.
The thing that's crazy is, like, in a lot of these cases, they'll do a shit ton of tests, but obviously, like, there's no reason for them to right away test for poison, right? So a lot of times, like, it would take time for them to test for poison, and so they don't. But then, by the time that they do, it's either been, like, too long, or, like, their body has, like, deteriorated, right? It's kind of a thing where it's, like, it sucks, but it's, like, it'd be weird to, like, off the bat test for poison, right? Unless you know the symptoms of specific poisons. But, like, most doctors don't, so they're not going to test for it till later on. It's crazy.
Diagnosis. Peggy is sent home with nothing more than a prescription for the pain.
She was laying in bed and she couldn't move. She said she couldn't open her eyes. She was nauseated. She was sick. She was very sick.
I feel like...
October 30th, one
feel
week
like this
after
is
her
not
first
going
symptoms,
on. Hold up.
Peggy, her son Dwayne, and her stepson Travis are all rushed to Winter Haven Hospital. All of them have the same symptoms.
Throwing up, super dehydrated. The pain that I had was unbearable. It was like 1,000 needles just wrapped around your foot. I was just crying. Me and Travis were both just crying.
You can make a fancy patty.
I
Poor
honestly thought I
Peggy,
was gonna
on
die.
God.
As Peggy is put
I'm
in the
trying to make a
intensive
little
care
guy,
unit,
bro. A little
infectious
chibi
disease
patty.
specialist Robert Van Hook notices something alarming.
At one point, she was noticed to have her hair coming out. It was not just a few hairs, she was losing excessive amounts of hair.
Dr. Van Hook fears the
I want a
worst.
golden
This might be a
toilet.
result of poison, one that wouldn't show up on regular lab tests. But he's only read about this type of poison in medical books. He then decides to
That's
run
what I
one
mean.
more
Like,
test
he wouldn't know
for
unless he
thallium
fucking...
poisoning. Thallium was widely used in rat poison until 1972, when it was banned in the United States. If ingested, it can cause delirium, paralysis, even death. The worst part is, there is no known cure to thallium poisoning.
That's
When the test
terrible.
comes back, it shows that Peggy has, in her system, 50 times the maximum amount a human can survive.
What the fuck?
October 31st, Peggy falls into a coma. Her stepson Travis is put on a respirator, and her son Dwayne is not showing any signs of improvement.
I remember waking up in the hospital, hysterical, what's
Literally.
going on? Where's mom at? Is she okay?
Despite the pain, Dwayne asks to be wheeled up
50
4
times
floors to see his mom,
the like,
but nothing can
regular
prepare
amount.
him for what he's about to see.
Her hair was gone. She weighed probably 90 pounds.
That's fucking
They had a
terrible.
cap on her. They didn't want to give me the shock of my life to see her laying there. I remember me thinking and hoping, you know, everybody tells you, she can hear you, talk to her, she can hear you.
Right away, police do everything they can to find the source of the poisoning. Detective Ernie Mincy of the Polk County Sheriff's Office is assigned to the case.
Our sole purpose was to identify that poison and have it removed from the environment to prevent further injury to any of the persons.
They investigate the orange grove surrounding the area, the neighborhood water supply, even the restaurant where Peggy works, but no trace of thallium is found.
It's
It
gotta
isn't
be in her
long
home
before
if
the
all of
public
her
is made
kids are
aware of the
sick too,
situation,
right?
and panic begins to spread.
The community was clamoring for
Little
answers
girl, he's so tiny.
that they would know whether or not they were safe.
I mean, we truly didn't know in the very beginning how this all came about.
Which is weird
How
considering
did
it was,
these
like,
people
just her family.
ingest? How did they touch? How did they inhale?
Some of your first thoughts are the worst thoughts. How many more people will show up at the hospital with this heavy metal poisoning?
Investigators scour the car home, collecting dust samples, and gather more than 400 household items for laboratory analysis. One of them comes back positive, a 6-pack of Coke bottles, where 3 remained unopened. Inside, test results show each
Oh my
contained more
God,
than a
that
gram
means
of
that they
thallium,
ate it.
enough
Or
to
they
kill an
drank it
adult.
all.
Detective Minzy knows there are only 2 possible scenarios. The first one being product tampering at the Coke factory. If that's the case, how many more people have drunk the poison?
Where else could this be throughout not only the county, but the state or the nation?
They had people down here who were scared to death to drink Coke. The initial step was to look at the bottling company and see what could have happened there.
But with Coca-Cola's collaboration, a large-scale tampering is quickly ruled out.
It was actually physically impossible to tamper with the product.
Yeah,
at
which
the
means
plant.
that it was an inside
Which leaves
job.
Detective Minzy only one scenario. This is a targeted attack on Peggy Carr and her family. As the investigation focuses on finding a suspect, they first take a look at the family members.
Her husband was a suspect when Peggy was very sick, and Pi didn't appear to be.
We dug very deeply at that point into Pi Carr's background. Anything that would show motivation to poison his wife.
Although Peggy and Carr got married only 7 months earlier, it seems their honeymoon was short-lived. Pi had been working long hours at the mine, and Peggy had grown suspicious.
The mine?
One night, she found him with another woman.
Oh!
Detective Minzy
They just
also
got
learns that the
married!
weekend Peggy first became ill, Pi was conveniently out of town. When he came back, he resisted taking his wife to the hospital.
I specifically remember my sister saying,
Bro,
"No,
I'm
I'm taking her to the hospital."
Hold
He's
on.
like, "No, just it's a flu. It'll pass." I physically picked her
Art
up
is not
out
my
of bed
forte.
because she couldn't walk. Her to my sister's car.
Everything seems to point to Pi Carr. Even Dwayne thinks
Yeah,
he might
right?
be guilty.
I think he treated my mother horrible.
I think he's just a
I
shit
thought that he
person, but I
poisoned
don't
my
think he
mother
poisoned her.
because he wanted out of the marriage. I mean, my mom was in the hospital. I don't remember him ever shedding a tear, ever. Not one time.
But something doesn't sit well with Detective Minzy. Why would Pi Carr poison his own son, Travis?
Right?
When they interrogate him, Pi reveals a clue that would confuse the police even further. June 14th, 4 months before Peggy is poisoned, Dwayne finds a letter in the mailbox. Inside is a yellow post-it with a threatening note typewritten on it.
It said, "You and all your so-called family have exactly 2 weeks to move out of the state of Florida or you will all die." And then at the bottom it said, "This is no joke."
Off.
We were kids and we just laughed it off. Pi laughed it off. Nothing happened. We didn't call the cops.
The letter is addressed to Pi Carr, with his name misspelled. Could Pi
Why his
Carr have
name
sent
be
the letter to
misspelled?
himself?
Pi.
Then, Detective Minzy learns of another incident a few years prior.
I'm sorry, his name is
Two
Pi.
of
It's
the car
throwing me off.
dogs died suddenly within a couple weeks of each other.
Both dogs had become very ill.
the dogs!
Their fur had fallen out.
We suspect they experimented on the dog first.
As Peggy's state continues to deteriorate, and Dwayne and Travis show no sign of improvement, the rest of the family are tested for thallium. The results are far worse than anyone expected,
Everyone in the house had thallium in their system.
including Pi Carr, which means he's no longer a suspect.
I wouldn't hold thallium powder in my hand. Anybody that had enough knowledge to do this crime wouldn't ingest thallium and take that risk.
Well, yeah,
They
of course,
just
because you would
wouldn't
die.
do it.
2-year-old Casey, Peggy's granddaughter, also has traces of thallium. March 3rd, 1989. Peggy has been suffering for 5 months
Not the
when Dwayne is asked to come to her
granddaughter, too.
bedside for the last time. The family now needs to make the difficult decision to take her off life support.
She's not coming back. She's brain dead. They said that you're gonna see her lungs inflate and deflate quite a few times, and then that's it.
Oh
was
my
it.
god.
It was terrible. I just lost the most important thing in my life. She was gone.
Peggy Carr dies at the Bartow Memorial Hospital. She was only 41. The nuclear
That's so
family
sad.
is shattered. As Dwayne is recovering slowly from the poisoning, he and his siblings are sent to live with relatives. Pi and his kids also move out. The house in Alturas is abandoned. For Detective Minzy, her tragic death changes everything. This is now a murder investigation.
To murder somebody by poisoning is exceptionally rare. It is something that has to be thought up in a very
I don't know how to draw
demented
feet. We're about to
mind
struggle.
by a very brilliant person
Like
who
this.
thinks that they're smarter than everyone else.
When the FBI examines the contaminated Coke bottles, they find tiny scratch marks.
Oh,
This indicates the bottles were meticulous and the caps were replaced and sealed
Yeah,
shut.
that's insane.
Thallium is tasteless, odorless, and easily dissolved.
That's
It
terrifying
also
too, that
causes
thallium is all
soda
those
to
things.
overflow, changes its color, and leaves a sediment at the bottom. But the mixture found in the soda avoided these problems. Whoever laced the
How,
Coke bottles with
though?
thallium has a sophisticated knowledge of chemistry.
Oh yeah, of course. They must
This
have
was
been
the work
extremely
of a
skilled.
highly intelligent individual, one that would be very hard to catch.
Think about how to draw
Police begin
feet, guys.
questioning neighbors of the Carr house and around
that.
town.
Alturas is a very small community, few hundred people. I think interviewed every single person that lived in Alturas.
The closest residence in the vicinity is that of George Trapal and his wife Diana. When Detective Minzy interrogates him,
I can't
Trapal's
do
reaction
feet.
to the subject of the cars is shockingly
Fucking Mr.
harsh.
White. I'm
He
doing this
went
to
into a
him.
tirade about the problems with these redneck children and family that live next to him.
Then, Minzy asks him why he thinks anyone would want to poison the Carr family.
The same question I'd asked to many other people. And the normal standard response was, I don't know.
I have no idea. His response was, someone wanted them to leave.
Oh,
The
bro,
same
that's a
message
dead
that was
giveaway.
written in the threatening letter.
He said exactly what was in the note. Nobody else knew of its existence except for law enforcement.
He made himself a suspect.
Yeah, easy.
Police find out that George Trapal is a self-taught chemist. His wife Diana has a master's degree in chemistry. Both are highly intelligent people and members of Mensa, an elite
there they
society for
go.
people with IQs in the top 2% of the population.
That
When they dig further
kinda
into
works.
his background, investigators find out that George has served time in prison.
He had been the chemist in a major methamphetamine laboratory in the southeast.
One of the ingredients often used in the production of amphetamine, thallium.
That's
George
crazy.
Trapal is now a person of interest, which comes as a surprise, even to Peggy's son, Dwayne.
I said, they've got the wrong guy. That guy couldn't hurt a flea. There's no way this guy could do that.
Detective Minzy also
Ta-da,
finds out that
head.
Trapal had an argument with the
Let's
cars
go.
over some loud music.
George Trapal was standing behind our vehicles hollering, telling us to turn the music down. So we turned the music down, and he's like, "Is your mother here?" And we're like, no, we're sorry, we'll keep it down. And he took off.
But who would ever suspect
Let me just
a
copy and
poisoning
paste this arm.
over some kids playing a television or a radio too loud?
Yeah, right?
Less
Like you
than
wouldn't,
48
because that's
hours after
weird.
the argument, Peggy was poisoned. Investigators are convinced they have the right man, but without any proof, they can't arrest him. In most cases, one possible option is to bring the suspect in for questioning and hope to get a confession.
We got
But detectives
legs
think that
and feet
wouldn't
and
work
arms
on
and
Trapal.
heads. Let's
He
go.
was introverted. He was very quiet. He was not confrontational.
Grabbing a guy like that and bringing him in will only make him shut down.
Well, yeah.
The FBI suggests there's only one alternative. Someone must go undercover and outsmart the certified genius at his own game. Detective
Get
Ernest
him!
Minzy assigns
Get
Special
him!
Agent Susan Gorick to the case. She's asked to infiltrate the Mensa group to which George Trapal belongs.
We suspected it would only be for
Oh, I
that
need ears
weekend
on
that
this
I would
girl.
have to do the undercover role.
And I was told to be careful because the person had a photographic memory, so if he saw us, that he could remember our cars or our faces.
Under an assumed name, Susan is planning to attend a Mensa murder mystery weekend that George and his wife Diana are hosting. Susan Gorick becomes Sherry Gwynn, a woman on the verge of divorce from an abusive husband. April 14th, 1989, Susan Gorick heads to the local hotel where the event is being hosted. When she arrives, she's greeted by George Trapal himself. Detective Gorick is now face to face with the suspected killer.
The biggest fear that I had was that he had seen me when I was doing surveillance. I really took a deep breath and I looked for any recognition in his eyes.
Trapal doesn't seem to recognize Susan, but she can't be sure. After all,
Just
he's
kill
not
me.
a confrontational person who would just come out and say it. Susan has to play along.
Screw the
He's
ears.
not going to get in your face. He's going to poison you.
Yeah, he's
so
gonna
that
fucking
you die
poison
a
you, bro.
slow, painful death.
We put her in a very dangerous position.
I told him who I
Eat
was, Sherry
nothing.
Gwynn, and that I needed to register.
And he handed me a packet with the weekend's information.
The pamphlet was made by George himself. It includes several well-planned out murder scenarios members will have to solve during the weekend.
That sounds like so
One of
much
them
fun,
is a
though.
poisoning.
One of the paragraphs that he wrote in this report said, when a death threat appears on the doorstep, prudent people throw out all their food and watch what they eat. Most items on the doorstep are just a neighbor's way of saying, I don't like you, move or else.
The message is eerily similar to the one the Cars family received before Peggy was poisoned.
Bro, we doing a murder
Right away,
mystery event
Susan
about
knows she has the
himself.
right suspect.
After I read that, I knew that it was just not coincidence.
As she tries to engage Trapal in conversation, Susan watches every word she says. One slip, and it could cost her her life.
When he asked me about my background,
Yeah, minus the
I
fact
told
that he
him
could
my
poison you at
husband
any
was a
second.
lawyer
Sounds like a fun
from
time.
Houston, Texas, and that I had left him. Talked about how he knew someone was lying
If you
by
don't
the way
piss
that
him
their neck
off,
muscles moved.
then you would know.
It made me very nervous.
Before the weekend is over, Sherry confides in George that she intends to move to Florida to get away from her husband. That's when Detective Gorick gets her first break.
We have 2 winners because one winner is nasty.
George said that they were thinking about moving his wife's practice and that they would be selling their house. After I talked to my supervisors, they immediately wanted me to follow up. They said, it'll just be a week.
The undercover operation, which was supposed to last only for a weekend, is extended. Susan will continue to put her life at risk and carry on the role of Sherry. But she knows this could be the perfect opportunity to find evidence that could help her team get a search warrant for the house.
Maybe he'd open a closet and I'd see lab equipment or maybe some chemicals or something.
The following week, I went over to the house.
While touring the house, Trapal tells Sherry that Alturas is so safe, no one locks their door. What Susan discovers around the house raises suspicions, but nothing is enough to get a search warrant.
He did show me a small secret passageway that he had built into
Oh, that's
the
cool.
library.
It's not cool because he's a murderer, but that's
did
still
have
cool.
a mannequin that had some bondage type things.
The plan
I shouldn't
has
be
failed.
impressed with this guy. He
After
literally
leaving
murdered
the
a
house,
family, but
Susan must maintain
it's
her
kinda
Sherry
cool
Gwynn
that he had a
persona
secret passage
in
in
order
his
to
house.
collect as much evidence as she can against George Trapal, all
That's
while
what I'm
knowing that
saying.
he's a highly intelligent killer.
I had to be very careful. I had 2 children at home and a husband. That could be my life and my family's life.
If he found out that she was an undercover detective with the sheriff's office, then she would end up poisoned as well.
Over the passing months, Susan meets Trapal over a series of lunch dates. A surveillance team watches from afar, capturing his every move.
Every time I left the table and came back, I would never eat or drink anything else.
It took me a long time for him to confide in me enough for me to understand just how much he hated people that had less intelligence than him.
After 8 months, Susan has collected a large amount of small evidence, but not
Sherry
enough
doors
to
are
build a
only
case
cool
against
for
George
non-killers.
Trapal.
On God,
Her
bro.
supervisors are beginning to question the value of her operation. They could shut her down at any moment. But to Susan, this means more than just a failed assignment. She can't help but think of her own family. It could have been her husband, Gary, or her 12-year-old son, Greg, or even her 2-year-old son, Stephen, who drank the poison. Peggy and her family deserve justice. Susan has to bring in results, and soon.
Go, Susan!
December 1989. Detective Gorick gets the call she's been waiting for. George and his wife Diana have moved out of town and are allowing Sherry Gwynn to move into their home. Without a warrant, Susan now has legal permission to invite the Polk County Crime Scene Unit inside the house.
That's crazy.
But because they believe Trapal would be too smart to leave thallium around the house, they look for traces of residue instead.
I truly believe that if we were going to find thallium, that it would probably be
that's
either
weird.
in
It's
the
probably
air
like a stock
conditioning
photo. Maybe
filter
they won't show the actual
or
like
possibly
children.
down one of the drains.
George Trapal and his wife left the house filled with their stuff, which allows the unit to collect samples. In the garage, they collect vials and chemistry bottles to be sent for
Children
analysis.
so small can't always
Susan
be
hopes
used
one
on
of
stuff
them will
like
come
this,
back
you know?
positive for thallium. But while they're waiting for the results from the FBI lab, Susan needs to continue her role of deception.
I was starting to run out of ideas and run out of scenarios to put him through.
Time is running out. January 1990. With no news from the lab, Susan can no longer wait for the results. She has to take action and decides to try and trick Trapal into incriminating himself. What Susan doesn't know is, Trapal is also preparing a trap for her.
I had George meet me at a little picnic area behind a McDonald's in Sebring.
The meeting between Detective Gorick
gonna
and
get
George
poisoned
Trapal
at a
is recorded on
McDonald's?
tape.
How are you? Fine. Good. How's your world going?
Well, not real good, and that's what I need to talk to you about.
Okay.
I think you neglected to tell me something.
Oh, what then?
Something had happened in the neighborhood.
I told him that I'd had 2 detectives come and talk to me when I moved into his house.
Oh, that's crazy. He's oh yeah, safe little neighborhood, but someone got poisoned next door.
Oh, well, sorry.
They said they never caught the person that did it, and it really frightened me. You don't seem overly concerned that that's not why you moved out, is it? You weren't afraid, were you?
Apparently some sort of person sent that, and it's not like they're running around poisoning everybody.
No one knew that. The crime had not been solved. At that point, there was really no doubt left in my
He
mind.
said it so casually. He's like, no, someone got poisoned in the
Susan
neighborhood.
hands him a
Not
business
why I
card
moved
she says
out, though.
detectives left behind. She tells him they came looking for him. Right away, Trapal's behavior begins to change.
He started getting extremely nervous.
I'll ask him what me. He seems to really interested in me. I really don't know what's going on. Something isn't falling into place here. I hope I'm not a prime suspect. That could be messy.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Then, George asks her repeatedly to come over to his new house.
So if you want a grand tour of the house, I'll be happy to give this guy into.
I'll take a rain check on it.
Susan declines. But what would have happened if she had agreed to go to his house? After meeting, Tripal walks away, visibly shaken by the news.
Time is 11:30.
This is not working, bro. I don't know what I'm trying to do with the shape here, but it is struggling.
April 4th,
He
1990.
literally, it's insane.
Susan gets a call she didn't
She
expect.
probably would have,
And
yeah.
I said, "You're kidding." And he said, "No, they're on the phone, and they found thallium."
The FBI confirms that one of the vials found in Tripal's garage contained thallium-1 nitrate, the exact compound
there's no way
used
that
in
she
the
would have
murder
made it
of
out there
Peggy
alive,
Carr
Sally.
and the attempted
So
murder
she's
of her
good. She's
entire
smart.
family.
We had a lot of circumstantial evidence, but this was the only piece of real evidence.
I was just elated.
April 5th, George Tripal is arrested at his new home of Sebring.
I seen it on TV, them walking George Tripal in his orange outfit into the Polk County Jail. The same guy that I trusted and mowed his driveway.
He remains unfazed, even when his friend, Sherry Gwynn, presents her true identity to him.
I said, "George, my name is Special Agent Susan Gorick. I work with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, and I'm here to serve this on you and to get handwriting samples." And he looked at me and said, "Oh, okay," and just smiled at me.
But Susan has no idea
kinda
yet just
ugly,
how
not gonna
close she
lie.
came to becoming his next murder victim. When police search Tripal's home in Sebring, they make a shocking discovery. As they look for a hidden room, like the one in George Tripal's previous house, they find a door behind
Pause.
a pegboard.
He like just moved to this house. How did he have time to make another hidden room? That's shit insane. Like, he's like, "Okay, honey, we're about to move. Ooh, this house looks nice. I'm gonna make a secret room here, and I'm gonna make a secret room there." He looks like a
He
washed up
opened the
ice cream,
door
like a
and
milkman.
There's no inside door handle.
The only window in the soundproof space has been sealed. Inside the room is a platform bed with wood stirrups.
He was building a bed on which to torture. He even had a pulley system to lift people.
So if you want a grand tour of the house,
That's
And I'm so
terrifying,
glad that
though.
I had not gone. They might have not found me.
She just saw herself as being the person George had built that for.
Yeah, he had
January
planned to like
1991,
trap her in there
as
and
George
torture her.
Tripal's trial begins, the jury is presented with overwhelming evidence against him. They show the items collected at Tripal's house, a journal titled General Poisoning Guides, in which the use of thallium is described as the poison of choice by criminals. In this journal, there is even a
It makes
reference
sense 'cause
handwritten by
thallium is
Tripal
odorless
about
and
getting rid of
flavorless.
the neighbors. A total of 55 fingerprints are found in that journal, all belonging to George Tripal. The prosecutor also shows the tools used in the decapsulating of the Coke bottles.
He had a set of very tiny screwdrivers, like jeweler's screwdrivers.
When they compare the tools to the marks on the bottle caps, the jury is shocked.
Those tool marks fit perfectly with one screwdriver that was missing in the jeweler's screwdriver set.
During the entire trial, Tripal remains calm, emotionless, sometimes even smiling.
George Tripal is truly evil. He knew what he was going to do. The little girl had thallium in her. and he
Yeah,
didn't
even
care.
the baby.
The reasonings behind what he done over loud music. He took somebody's life.
He did the most horrible act that I've ever seen as a homicide investigator. He killed one person, put her through torture before her death. He justified it with his superior intelligence and the fact that people with lesser intelligence did not deserve to live.
The trial lasts for 2
Well,
whole
I'm
months,
stupid,
but it
so he
only
would
takes the
definitely have
jury
poisoned
4
me, oh my
hours to
fucking
reach
God.
a verdict. March 6, 1991, 2 years almost to the day after Peggy's death. George Tripal is found guilty on all counts. He is sentenced to death.
The defendant, George James Trepal, shall be electrocuted until he is dead.
It's been a long, hard struggle. Peggy was in
That's
hell.
insane, bro.
You'd have to have seen her to know what she went through. And I'm glad it's over with.
The genius who thought he could commit the perfect crime has been defeated.
He might have had a higher IQ than most of the world, but he certainly wasn't smarter than Susan.
Yeah,
I was
go
relieved
Susan!
because the family needed closure.
Susan Gorick brought justice to Peggy's family. She risked everything to put this criminal mind behind bars.
She put her life at risk just to, you know, bring
Hashtag girl
somebody's
power, let's go
killer to
Susan!
justice.
Woo, woo, woo!
I think she's awesome.
The rest of the family
I mean, she
who were
almost
poisoned all
died, which is
recovered
crazy
successfully.
too.
As for Dwayne, losing his mother at the young age of 16 has been very hard.
Mother's Day comes around and
Poor
you think,
Dwayne.
okay, this year I'm not going to be upset. You can't get around it. That's all you think about all day long. What's going to happen when my son asks me, you know, where's my grandma? Where's Mimi at, you know?
Oh my god,
In the
my
years
heart,
that followed
bro.
her death, Dwayne expressed his grief through anger and outbursts. But after getting in trouble, he decided to write to his mother. His letter reads, "Dear Mom, this is your baby boy. I'd like to tell you that I love you, and I'm sorry for all the bad things I've ever done to you. Hopefully, you're in a better place now. I often think about you and wish you were here. I haven't been so good, and I'm sorry. I'll try to get my life straight." Dwayne made good on his promise. Today, he's married and has become the father figure his own family deserved. He makes sure every day that his mom is proud of him and that her memory lives on. Dwayne Dubberly is living proof that even after tragedy, there is a life worth living.
Today, October 12th, I'm 5 feet tall. My favorite food is steak. My favorite color
It's
is
so
blue.
sad. It's just like, first of all, the fact that he killed them over loud music is insane. Like, who the fuck does that, bro? Like, just people who think they are superior to other people are always gonna just be douchebags. Cause I think, like, it's dumb. The reason he killed them is only because he said, like, dumb people don't deserve to live, only the smart shall live, and they didn't even know, and it's like, bro, how the fuck would they know that a nice guy was poisoning him with, or what they thought was a nice guy was poisoning him with thallium, when thallium is odorless and tasteless, and, like, so strange. And, like, who would ever think that your neighbor would poison you for playing your music too loud? Like, genuinely, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't seem, like, plausible. I don't know. That's insane. Good for him, though. Yeah, it was good that he changed his life around and da-da-da-da. It's so frustrating. Mom robs a bank to save her 7-year-old daughter. I know this is not the, like, title of it, but him saying 7-yo-daughter
daughter off this way,
is crazy.
and they put the gun right here in her face, right up her nose, and said, "Don't make us use this."
This footage was captured by the FBI on an undisclosed date around 2001.
We got the hair, by the way,
Agents are
guys.
following 35-year-old single mother,
We got
Michelle
the hair
Renee,
going.
inside her home, as she describes the terrifying events that took place there a few weeks earlier, when she and her 7-year-old daughter Bria
I kinda
were
wanna
taken
draw.
hostage
I have
by a
a-
group of
a
armed
thing.
men.
I heard my daughter say,
That I
"Are
wanna
you gonna
draw.
kill my mommy? And are you gonna kill me?" And they said, "No, not if your mommy does everything that we tell her to do." And they sat me right here and said, "Now we're gonna take your daughter." And then I had to put her in there and said, "We need to put the dynamite on you now."
Held at gunpoint, Michelle Renee
Never
couldn't do
mind.
anything as Bria was getting rigged with explosives right in front of her eyes.
You could tell she was just in absolute shock and terror.
Dude,
and
I thought she was
shaking.
Robin, and
Locked
this
in
went
a
from
life
girl
or
boss
death
to what the shit.
situation, her attack
I mean, it's still a girl boss move because the mother is sacrificing pretty much everything for her child who's being held hostage, right? Like, sick mom, but also not sick to the fucking people who are doing it to her.
Gave her only one chance to save her kidnapped daughter.
They said, "You're gonna rob the bank for us, or we will kill you, and your daughter will be first." Be brave, Mommy. That was the last thing she said.
In the beautiful city of Vista, California, Michelle Renee and her daughter Bria are living a cozy life in their isolated home.
Lived in my dream house, pretty much. It was up on top of a hill. It was overlooking the ocean.
But on November 20th of 2000, something strange happened to Bria. In the middle of the night, she woke her mother up in a panic.
She said, Mom, I saw somebody's eyes looking through my bedroom window. I saw people outside. She was scared out of her mind. I looked out there. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anybody. So I just brushed it off.
Overnight, Michelle convinced herself that Bria, who was only 7 years old at the time, must have been dreaming.
I felt very, very safe. I felt like we were far away from everything.
Little did she know, her daughter was right. Not only was there a man in front of her window that night, Christopher Butler has been stalking Michelle and her daughter for almost a year with the help of his accomplices, Robert Ortiz, Michael Huggins, and Lisa Ramirez. Worried that Michelle might become suspicious after Bria spotted him near the window, Butler decided to execute his plan the following day. On November 21st, around 8 p.m., they forcefully entered the residence by knocking down the back door.
And we just heard this huge sound, just the biggest noise from behind us. And I turned to look and just saw 3 people just rushing in, running in the door. When they had their guns and they were all in black.
Moving around the house in a highly organized manner, Butler and his partners quickly intercepted Michelle. Bria attempted to flee, but was caught by another man who was waiting around the corner, past the living room. As the chaos unfolded around her, Michelle started panicking. The thought of her daughter being in harm's way terrified her to her core.
I was screaming and crying. I thought for sure we were going to be raped.
Yo, what's up,
murdered.
Bubba?
I didn't know.
Butler, who was right next to Michelle, started shooting orders to the others. Huggins, the biggest of the 3, dropped Bria to the ground and moved toward the front door, while Ortiz took his place. On his radio, Butler seemed to be giving out orders to other people outside of the house.
I'm good, how about you?
They were in constant contact with 6 people outside of the house on walkie-talkies, saying money 1 to money 2, money 2 to money 3.
And I hear duct tape unraveling. That sound of duct tape that I'll never forget.
I'm tired. I just
Before
took the act
finally
today. What is the
revealing
act?
his intentions, Butler explains to Michelle
I'll be
that
honest,
the
I
bad
have
dream
no
Bria
clue what
had
that
the night
is.
before wasn't just a nightmare.
They said that they had followed me to my daughter's school and that they had been watching me in my house at my job.
Shocked by this revelation, Michelle implored Butler to allow her to see Bria. She was relieved when he stood back and started lifting her up, but was devastated when she witnessed the state of her daughter.
They let me turn around and see my daughter laying face down.
Oh,
on the
ATC at
floor,
colleges?
right here by the door.
ACT,
with
bro.
her hands
I'm
tied
blinded.
and her feet tied. Right there on the ground.
Appealed by her mother's tears, Bria tried to plead with the men. At only 7 years old, the child was as concerned for her own safety as she was for her distressed mother.
I heard my
It's
daughter
not
say,
working.
"Are you going to kill my mommy? And are you going to kill me?" And they said, "No, not if your mommy does everything that we tell her to do."
They said, you're going to rob the bank for us, or we will kill you, and your daughter will be first.
How'd it go? Do you think you did good?
Around that time, late in the evening, headlights appeared in front of the house's driveway. Michelle knew this was the car of her friend, Kimbra Oliver, who lived with her and Bria at the time. But Butler wasn't lying when he said he knew everything about Michelle's life. On his CB, he received a call from Money 2, warning him that Kimbra was approaching. This is why he positioned Huggins by the main entrance earlier. When Kimbra passed the door, the massive man immediately knocked her down and tied her with duct tape. Afterward, many hours passed while the burglars
Hey,
made
she was
themselves at
looking
home,
up. Oh,
eating
God.
Michelle's food and trashing around
I
her
believe
house
you got this,
until
bro.
Butler declared he wanted Michelle to get prepared. But, while doing so, made sure his request was as uncomfortable as possible.
They were really vulgar. They were really sexually explicit in their language. He says, take a shower, and my daughter doesn't want to leave me.
Forced into the shower under duress, Michelle and Bria did as they were told.
Just looking at my girl and wiping her face, and he tapped the gun on the door and said, time to go.
Once out of the shower, Huggins came into the bathroom with a large duffel bag. He dropped it on the floor before leaving the room with Bria. Butler
you
started
literally
pulling
got this,
firearms,
Shadi.
bladed weapons, and ammunition out of the bag until he reached a red object covered in electrical tape and colorful wires. There were no mistakes to be made. In the center of the apparatus were
Having to
two
do homework
clearly
right now?
discernible
Oh,
sticks
not
of
the
dynamite.
homework, bro.
The ringleader said, We're going to put these on your body. We're going to put these on your daughter's body, and showed us a detonation device and said, if you do not do every single thing we tell you to do, you will disintegrate.
Butler forced Michelle to follow him back into the living room before pushing her to the ground next to Bria. He then ordered her to pull up her shirt and turn her back to him.
Actually put them on me first, really, really tight into my ribs to where you couldn't hardly breathe. It was really painful. Then they had my daughter lean over the bathroom
Let's
toilet
go,
and
homework.
duct tape them to her as well. Right then, the ringleader took my arm and said, you have 10 minutes to say everything you need to say to your daughter.
Michelle carefully sat the terrified child on the couch and tried as best she could to soothe her. They may never see each
This is
other
not
again,
working,
and
bro.
Michelle
I'm
needed to
not-
make sure her young
It
daughter
kinda
knew
looks
how much
fine.
she loved her.
And you could tell she was just in absolute shock and terror and shaking. We were on the couch together, and I was just telling her that she was perfect for me, that she was exactly everything I'd ever hoped for when
That's
I planned
better.
to be
That
a
kind
mom.
of makes more
As
sense.
Bria and Michelle were embracing each other, Butler stepped in and separated them. The others strapped some more dynamite onto Kimbra's chest and then isolated them. Bria was thrown into a closet while Kimbra was locked up in the bathroom.
I just couldn't imagine her in the closet, you know what I mean? Just sitting there sort of waiting to explode. The only way I got through that moment is knowing that I had to save her life and get back to her.
Go,
As the sun
Mom.
rose, Butler
She
pushed
built.
Michelle outside and told her to get into her Jeep. While she drove, he held his gun at her flank and started giving her directions on where to go. When she approached the Bank of America branch located on Santa Fe Avenue, goosebumps spread across Michelle's skin. This wasn't just any bank, it was her bank, the place she worked at.
And in an absolute blank, I thought, oh my gosh.
Butler told Michelle that after the bank opened, he would wait for only 5 minutes, then detonate the bomb. Without missing a beat, Michelle got out and ran to the entrance. Once inside, she was greeted by one of her colleagues, Loretta Myers. But from the get-go, the teller noticed something was off.
She came into the branch and she was very stoic, just off-center. It just wasn't like her. She's a vivacious, bubbly, outgoing kind of a person.
As she waited for the bank to open, Michelle sat at her desk
Yeah,
in an attempt
Michelle
to
is
look
doing
busy
everything she
before getting
can.
on with the heist. As she looked at the picture of Bria she had laid on the corner of her desk, Michelle noticed something, a business card a strange customer gave her the day prior.
And the name on the business card was
Christopher Butler.
And in the blink of an eye, it all came together. When she and Bria were in the shower, Michelle looked at her assailant right in the eyes for a quick moment and knew she had already seen him before. Not only was he a customer at the bank, she literally saw him at her desk the day before.
He sat at my desk for a really long time asking sort of the same questions over and over. And then a woman walked in and said, Chris, we need to get going. And her voice on the walkie-talkie, I remember that voice sounding very familiar. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's her.
Michelle knew that if she and Bria could survive this, she would be able to bring Butler and Ramirez to justice. But as the bank was about to open, she
Catch
had
me
to push these
struggling,
thoughts to
bro.
the back of her mind. For the time being, she needed to stay focused.
I knew what I had to do, and that's all I could think about. I have to rob the bank.
At exactly 9 o'clock, the filling of the vault concluded and the bank opened. At the same time, Michelle's internal timer kicked off. 5 minutes.
That's the cue. Every step I took with that dynamite was like a tick, every second. I grabbed my briefcase, I went to the vault.
The bank rules stated that vault operation always required 2 people to be present, so Michelle strong-armed the bank teller and dragged her inside with her. But Loretta Myers wasn't duped. She knew they weren't supposed to bring anything with them into the vault.
Never have I ever seen anybody take anything other than a pen and keys into the vault. Never.
The clock was ticking, and Michelle had no time to deal with her colleague's suspicion. She closed the vault door behind her, grabbed the bank teller's shoulders, looked her dead in the eyes, and directly told her about the heist.
She started panicking and going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. She couldn't speak. And I lifted up my shirt and I said, look what's on my back. I'm gonna blow up if I'm not out of here in 5 minutes. You need to help me.
In tandem, Michelle and the bank teller pulled a duffel bag out of the briefcase and started filling
And
it
her
up with the
friend
money.
was like, "I
Within
got
the
you,
allowed
bro."
time, they were able to gather $360,000. Before leaving the vault, she gave her more instructions.
And I said, get ready to shut the bank down. Do not call the police. If you call the police, we're dead.
In front of the dubious eyes of other employees, Michelle walked out of the bank with a duffel bag and found her way back to her Jeep where Butler was waiting. He drove to a dead end
better,
past the bank
kind
and dropped
of.
her off.
He let me out of
Doesn't
the
look
Jeep. I was
bad.
to walk back to where my Jeep would be waiting, and then I was to go straight home.
While driving home with the pedal to the metal, Michelle was inhabited by the worst thought a mother could ever bear. Why would Butler let any of them live? After all, he had absolutely no incentive to keep any of them alive.
That's all. Is this going to be the step that's going to end my daughter's life? Is this going to be the second that I'm going to blow up?
To get back to her home,
This
Michelle
is
had to
not
pass in
working,
front of the
bro.
bank once again. The sight of the
On
police
God.
cars arriving at the branch sent a
Great
shiver down
friend.
her spine. As she sped through the few miles still separating her from her daughter, another worrisome sight waited for her in the driveway of her home.
My roommate's car was gone. They had barricaded the front door, and I just had to struggle my way in, and my adrenaline was so high. Had just got done forcing my way in the door, and I was just screaming, and hello, hello? It was eerily silent. You just die inside. You just die inside.
Crushed by the weight of the silence, Michelle was about to collapse. But all of a sudden, she heard a noise coming from the bedroom, the fainted cheers of Bria and Kimbra.
I was so excited. I was like, someone's coming back. It's my mom. I think it's my mom. And I was like, okay, it's over.
Oh my gosh. She was alive. I did it. We did it.
I gave her a hug and I was really, really happy.
I just wanted to grab her and never, never, ever
Yeah,
let go
no,
of
when
her.
they talk about the silence,
I just
bro,
wanted to hold her.
But then I could still see the panic on her face.
As much as happiness overwhelmed her, Michelle couldn't help but notice that Bria, although still covered in duct tape, had no more explosives tied to her back. As she turned around to look at Kimbra, she saw that she too had her explosives removed.
And I told them, the dynamite's still on me. You guys need to go for help. I'll stay here. I don't know if this thing's gonna detonate. I don't know what's gonna happen. And my daughter was going, no, Mommy, no, I'm not leaving you. My roommate said, Michelle, I know I can do this. Let me just cut it off of you. And she ran and got scissors and cut it off of me.
In a heartbeat, the three left the bomb behind and sprinted to the closest neighbor.
Sheriff's Department, can I help you? Yes, some neighbors of ours were held hostage. I need somebody out here right away.
Once the police
That's so
arrived, their bomb squad
stressful
quickly
when you hear his
realized
voice.
that the three explosive devices found on the scene were fake. Then, Michelle and Bria were sent to the
Oh,
station
thank
for
God they were
questioning.
fake,
Michelle
though.
showed them Butler's business card and told them the whole story. After an entire week passed without any progress on the police's end, Michelle decided to take matters into her own hands and contacted America's Most Wanted.
The deputy DA advised her not to do it because it was a pending case.
Yeah, they didn't want me to do it.
But this proved to be one of the only reasons why the entire group ended up being arrested. Butler and Ramirez were caught during a routine traffic stop where the police found weapons and official Bank of America money straps inside of their car. Huggins and Ortiz, now on the run, were respectively found in California and Wisconsin in the following days, thanks to America's Most Wanted tip line.
If you know where Ortiz is hiding, please call our hotline right now.
This wasn't the end for Michelle. On the contrary, since she was the only one present at both the kidnapping and the heist, she was selected as the prime witness for the upcoming trial of Butler and Ramirez. But Michelle was angry, and her attitude in court would end up causing her more
welcome. How are
harm
you
than
doing?
good.
Angry witnesses don't come across as credible.
I was treated like I was the criminal.
At the trial, Butler gave an aggravating false statement, and the defense attorney representing Ramirez attempted to redirect the blame put on her client toward Michelle.
My strategy was to beat the hell out of the victim.
The defense
I fucking hate stupid people like that. I mean, it's not stupid, it's their job, but still.
That I strapped my own
How's that
child
look,
with
guys?
dynamite, that I was the mastermind behind the crime.
After 5 days of deliberation, the jury came up with a verdict that pierced through the defense's lies.
Chris Butler was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, plus 64 years.
But sadly, Ramirez received no sentence at all. During the kidnapping and the heist, she stayed outside and acted as a
Seriously?
lookout. So, in the end, the jury estimated that she didn't really commit any punishable offense, even though she confessed to being the mastermind behind the entire
That's
operation
crazy.
during
She
her
was the
initial
mastermind and
interrogation.
confessed,
Her videotaped confession was deemed inadmissible in court.
Honestly, whose idea it was about 8 months ago. Jokingly, mine.
There was some female voice that came over often.
That was it.
Mind-boggling. The fact that it was her idea
and she
to
didn't
do
go to
this
jail is
to
crazy.
a mother and a child.
Huggins and Ortiz didn't get off as easily. In an accelerated trial, both were found guilty of kidnapping and robbery before being sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences. Looking back on the now 23 years old event is still painful for Michelle and Bria, but Thomas Manning is right to call her a hero.
That's
The
so
strength and
weird,
courage that
though.
she showed that night saved her life, saved Bria's life. This could have had a different ending.
After everything settled down, Michelle and Bria left Vista and moved to San Diego. Michelle was determined to move forward with her life.
I
but
don't know
overcoming
if
what
I
had
should put the
happened
arm
proved to
in
be
front or
easier
behind.
said
I think
than
I'm
done.
worrying about
For
that a little
years,
too much,
both
but
she and her daughter sought professional help to process their traumas, especially Bria, who was only 7 years old at the time.
There's aspects of that night that are going to be with me for the rest of my life.
Bria eventually recovered and thrived through high school, but during her senior year, disaster struck once more. On December 8, 2011, she fell to the ground, paralyzed. At the hospital, Michelle learned that her young daughter had
I
multiple
think behind is
sclerosis,
better. So
a
yeah,
rare
that's what I was thinking
neurological
too.
disease.
I could
The prognostic
theoretically
was that Bria would never be able to see,
do
talk,
something like
or
this.
walk ever again. But Michelle refused to let her down. She instead put a pause on her endeavors and became a full-time caretaker to her daughter, and eventually, Bria's condition improved. With her mother by her side, she graduated high school and college from her hospital bed. Then, after 9 years of constant struggle, Bria finally fully recovered.
After she could talk again, she turned to me and said, "Kidnapping was a piece of cake compared to this."
Bria and Michelle chose to face life head-on. Together, they lead Verb Media, a thriving production company founded by Michelle in 2009. On top of that, Michelle published 2 books. Held Hostage, a retelling of the November 21st event from her point of view that has been adopted into the movie of the same name, and 9 Days, a memoir about the power of healing and forgiveness.
There's 2 choices.
Kinda, sorta.
Call them monsters and stay angry and blame everything in my life on them, or I can take this other road. The best thing I could do for Bria is to be an example.
It's not always the end all be all when something bad happens to you. You can come out of it stronger.
Trying to make it look like something. After reading Michelle's book, Ortiz started writing to the Renees asking for her forgiveness. As parole hearing earlier this year, Bria took the stand in his favor. Huggins' first parole hearing will take place September 2024. So this year. What's up, Bobby? Why are the hands and feet so hard to draw? On God, they're literally the worst, bro. Hands and feet are the worst things to draw ever. She doesn't need fingers, bro. Fingers are unnecessary. How you doing, Abby? Welcome. I'm just trying to, I think that kind of looks sort of correct. But I think that also, maybe no hand is better. I'll just leave it in no hand, because I don't want to have to draw the other one. And also, I'm struggling, because I don't think how, you would grip it was correct. Also, I want to do this. Bam, bam, bam. Kind of looks like something or other. Had a whole road trip turn to shit. Oh, no? Why? I hope you're good, bro. I recently went on a sort of a road trip with my family. We had to go to, a town that's, 4 hours away for an allergy appointment. And that was a real shitty trip. Hello, Patty McPatterson. Hello, Dread. Hi. I want to add on to that, but I also should do other things. Hold on, I'm going to fix the hair. So, the hair is going to be above, because logic, right? That makes sense. Like this. What's the quill for? It's a weapon. Massive weapon. Imagine being stabbed with a giant quill. I think that'd be sick. Think about it. Ink demon, quill weapon, quality weapon. Me and my sis were going to Denver for a concert yesterday. We were 30 minutes from the border and they closed the roads due to weather, so we missed the concert. Oh no! I'm so sorry. That really sucks. You would think that you would be able to get some sort of refund. Patty secretly Bendy? Benny, bro. No, not me. Let's see. Maybe? I would hope so, but I don't know. I've never been to a concert before, so I can't really say. But I'm sorry, that really sucks, Abby. Eat something yummy and cheer up. Maybe. That's what I would do. I don't... Okay, we're gonna watch this one. Mom breaks into serial killer's house to find her daughter.
Pay
The
attention
case
to the
of
girl
Mary
looking
Rose
straight
and
into
Anna
the camera.
Craver.
To most people,
Annette Craver sounds really familiar. I'll have to remember.
Annette Craver looks like a regular teenage girl, but something isn't quite right.
I didn't get the insurance on the tickets. I mean, who expects a blizzard in March? I got myself Wendy's. I'm emotionally eating. Oh, I'm so sorry, my guy. It's kind of true. Next time, though, remember to get some insurance for the tickets, just in case, you know.
Her mother, Mary
Wendy's
Rose,
is so good,
noticed that
though.
her daughter wasn't the same since she returned from a recent trip to California. What she doesn't know is that, while over there, her innocent daughter tied the knot with a serial killer. In 1983, 43-year-old Felix Vale, a cult leader, manipulator, and serial killer, married 17-year-old Annette Craver, putting her entire being under his control.
There was nothing in her eyes. There was no personality there.
Oh.
It was like a zombie.
But the teenager still had enough sense in her to try to overcome her tyrannical husband.
She said, "I'm leaving, Felix. I want a divorce. I'm going back to school."
But this was too little too late, because Annette disappeared shortly after, leaving no clues behind. Frustrated by the local police's lack of action, Mary Rose, Annette's mother, launched her own investigation, but no one expected how far she was ready to go to find her daughter and stop her son-in-law's killing spree.
And she threw out a machete. And I'm like, what in the world have I gotten myself into?
You didn't worry about the risks. I don't worry about the risk. I just
No.
wanted to know the truth.
Plus your daughter, right?
September 8th,
Moms are
1981.
badasses.
It was
Moms
the
are
end
so
of the summer
cool.
in Houston, Texas. 15-year-old Annette and her mother Mary were having a yard sale to sell off the last remaining items belonging to Annette's late father, who died in a car crash 2 years prior. Unbeknownst to Mary, her daughter was still struggling with the loss of her father.
This is your friend Annette, and here is your long-awaited tape. Hope you like it.
She spent a lot of time alone. She was always writing poetry and drawing, picked up the guitar.
This kind of solitude and isolation concerned Mary.
Annette, I'm sure,
not
missed
working.
her dad more than I realized.
Her voice is beautiful.
I even asked her one time if she thought she needed to see someone to talk, and she said, "No, Mom, I'm fine."
But the truth was that, behind her mother's back, Annette made a new friend, a charming, yet much older man she met in the city. At 40 years old, Felix Vale was even older than Mary herself, so when he showed up at the yard sale, talking it up to her daughter, she didn't think of him as a potential threat.
I think I may have seen him on his motorcycle. He was just another customer.
Mary was very preoccupied at the time.
40?
Since the death of Annette's father, she simply couldn't find any work in Houston. She
Older than
needed
her
to
mother?
move away to be able to provide for her daughter, but lacked the money
Red
to
flags
do so
are high.
until
The
an
older guy,
opportunity
yeah,
arose in the
older,
neighboring
like
state
older than
in
her mother,
Oklahoma.
older guy.
The only issue was that Annette, who had already skipped 2 grades, was about to graduate from high school, and Mary knew that moving away could compromise her progress.
Pause. This means that Annette Craver was probably about 16. I don't know if it says. It didn't say, right? But if she skipped 2 grades and she's about to graduate high school, that means she's about 16, maybe even 15. What's got you streaming so early? Oh, I don't work today. So we're doing drawing and we're watching some murder mystery. But at around maybe 4, it depends on how long we stream for. It could be 3. I'll probably leave, go do some stuff, and then I'll come back later and we'll do another Roblox stream. 35 years. Yeah. Because fucking, if she's about 16 and he's about 40 something, bro.
So she decided to leave her in the care of a friend for a few months while
What
she
the
temporarily
fuck?
left for work, a decision she'd later come to regret.
Which, like, pause. No wonder the mom didn't realize that he was a threat, because he's older than the mother. So, like, why would anyone think that, like, he was hitting on the daughter, right? You wouldn't. You would just think it's just an older gentleman talking to your kid, which is, like, fine. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, that guy's hitting on my child, because it probably just looks like they're having a conversation. Because, like, you wouldn't think a fucking 40-year-old would hit on, like, a fucking 15, 16-year-old, bro. Insane.
When she learned that the mysterious stranger she met at the yard sale was getting closer and closer to her underage daughter.
She did mention in letters that Felix stopped by, but I didn't know that there was intimacy. And then I learned that Felix made many, many visits.
Ew.
I regret that I left, and she even said to me in a letter, I feel like you abandoned me.
With Mary away, Felix easily manipulated Annette and convinced her to go on a road trip with him after her graduation. Meanwhile, Mary saved money for months and was eager to announce to her daughter that she bought a house for them under both of their names. Finally, they would be able to live together again. When she learned that Annette already left, Mary was devastated.
Oh my gosh, why didn't I do this differently? All the decisions I made that I would do differently now.
For an entire year, she tried to get in touch with her daughter. She eventually got a few letters, but never from the same place, until the day she received a dreaded call from Annette asking for her approval to marry Felix in California.
I said, why don't you wait till you turn 18? This is a big mistake. She said, I love you, Mom, and we'll go to Mexico and get married.
Fearing that saying no would push her daughter away, Mary had to make a choice, another difficult decision that still haunts her to this day.
I don't want to estrange her from me. And I trusted her, and I didn't know he was a bad guy, so I fell for it.
Through her letters, Annette explained to her mother that Felix changed after the wedding. He suddenly became very controlling and even forced her to undergo an illegal abortion after she became pregnant with his child. In shock, her mother tried to convince her to come back, and eventually, Annette found the courage within herself to break free from Felix's grasp and return to Mary Rose.
So first of all, she wasn't even 18 by the time they got married, so they had been in a relationship for about a year, almost 2 years, which means she was about 15, 16 when they started dating, which means he's over 40 and they're dating, and then she had a baby, and then he made her get an abortion, and the mother said yes to because, like, the mother, there was nothing the mother could do because she didn't want to be estranged from her daughter, but this is freaking crazy. The reason why the mother didn't say no, which I understand from this perspective, is that she had already let her daughter down once, and she knew that if she said no, her daughter would just, like, cut contact with her. Do you know what I mean? Like, her daughter would just decide that she does not want to be in a relationship with her mom anymore if her mom does not support her. So there's really, like, nothing she could do because she didn't know where they were in, like, fucking on the planet. Like, she didn't know where they were because every letter was coming from a different place, right? I'm trying to scooch my chair and oh my god. And so the only hope of being able to keep contact with her daughter was to say yes, she was fine with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's the only way that she could keep any semblance of a relationship. Which is like, obviously she didn't agree and she did not want her daughter to marry like a fucking 40-year-old man. But she also wanted to be able to at least keep in contact with her daughter in case something happens. And if she were to say no, her daughter would just stop talking to her. And her mother would have no clue where she was. You know what I mean? It's not like, I'm not saying that it was like a great choice, but it's also probably the only choice that she felt like she could make at the time, which is really sad.
She was not herself. She was so confused when we were painting the downstairs, and she looked into the camera with this intense look on her face, like, what do you want from me? I think she was just overwhelmed with the way he had tried to control her and mess with her mind.
Even if she wasn't the same anymore, Mary was happy to finally be reunited with her daughter. But their respite was short-lived. Felix started calling the house over and over, demanding to talk to Annette. Mary didn't flinch and tried her best to protect her. But one day, mere weeks after their reunion, Felix came to their home, walked in without asking, and directly went to see Annette.
That's crazy.
He spent some time with her.
I would beat
alone,
this shit up.
And then they approached me and said, we want you out of the house.
Mary tried as best she could to resolve this with Annette.
Pause. He went and talked to Annette. They come back and they go, Mom, you need to leave your house because we're doing, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Obviously, Annette was manipulated into this because, like, she wouldn't just ask her mom to leave her own home and be with the person who was abusing her.
But Felix's grasp on her was
Terrifying,
overwhelming.
right?
Forced to leave her daughter behind a second time, Mary Rose renounced her half of the house, packed her bags, and moved to California. Soon after, Annette turned 18 and cashed in the inheritance left by her late father.
What?
She then allegedly proceeded to move all of her money into Felix's accounts.
And it's terrifying too because like you can, in the span of this video, you're watching this girl sink deeper and deeper into this cycle of abuse. And also the fact that they kicked the mom out of her own house that she bought for her and her daughter, crazy. But it's just you're watching her fall deeper into this cycle of abuse with this partner that we know is bad for her and we know is probably doing horrible things to her. And it's hard to do anything about it, right?
Deeded her house to his name. Upon learning of this, Mary immediately called Felix.
And what he told me was that he had put her on a bus and that she was going to Mexico. I hung up and called the police and filed a missing persons report.
So
Without
then
any evidence or anything
all of
to
her
look-
assets and the house and everything were transferred into this guy's name, and then he tells the mom, "Oh, I sent your daughter to fucking Mexico." Yeah, like that's gonna fly, shoddy.
into. The police went to Felix, but unfortunately for Mary, he put them under the same kind of spell that charmed her daughter 3 years prior.
They believed Felix. He convinced them that she had left on her own. Better I wrote to the DA. They didn't respond,
Narcissists
so...
being narcissists.
Since the
Psychopaths are
authorities
good at
refused to look
conversation.
into her disappearance, Mary hung on to the only thing she had left, hope.
That's the
Yes,
thing.
I wanted to believe she was alive. I waited and waited. I sat by the phone and I kept waiting for a call. Christmas, her birthday, my birthday, Mother's Day. I would stay close to a phone on those days in those early years, thinking this is it. This is the day she's going to say, "Hi, Mom."
But doubt sowed into her mind as the years went by.
I said, all right, if she's trying to get away from her mother, why isn't anybody else hearing from her? She had family.
After 7 years and hundreds of unanswered letters to the police, the FBI, and even to Felix himself, Mary had enough. She accumulated small pieces of information on Felix's family over the years, but this was the early days of the internet and the data was scarce to say the least. However, there was no way she would be waiting for the police to take action any longer, so she decided to start her own investigation. She began with the only strong lead she had found, Sue Jordan, Felix's sister, and drove halfway around the country to meet with her.
She told me that Felix had a wife who had drowned.
Shocked by this revelation, Mary tracked the family of Felix's first wife, Mary Horton Vale. She quickly located Will Horton, Mary's little brother, who was only 15 when she drowned in the Calcasieu River.
A lady calls me and says, "You don't know me, but Felix Vale married my daughter, and she's missing." And I said, "Oh my God." My sister was so very special, so thoughtful, kind.
Mary Rose couldn't help but feel for Will Horton, who only had good things to say about his sister, but he couldn't say the same for his brother-in-law. On the contrary, his entire family resented him.
What was it like when you met with Will Horton? Did he think that his brother-in-law had killed his sister?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And so did his parents. And they felt helpless.
Will didn't spare any details regarding what he knew of the case.
Yeah,
his
it's
sister
so
met
sad.
Felix while studying at McNeese State College in
There we
1960.
go.
6 months later, they married, and the following year, the couple had a son, Bill Vale.
I tried. I was struggling
My
with
sister
that.
radiated over that baby. This was part of the dream. You go to school, you go to college, and you have a family.
But after the birth of Bill, things changed in the Vale household. In a similar manner to Felix's treatment of Annette after their wedding, he began to exert more and more control over Mary's life. He even went as far as to tell her that he resented having a child and that there would be consequences if she ever became pregnant again. When she
What?
did the following year, Felix exploded in a fit of rage. Before he could hurt her, Mary ran back to her parents with her son.
fault that she got
She had thoughts
pregnant,
of
my
leaving
guy.
Felix. That's why she was there, talking to my mom. My mom suggested that she go back and try to work things out, and then they would have another conversation. But she died before there was another conversation.
According to the authorities at the time, Felix and Mary left their son in the care of Mary's mother before heading out to fish on a friend's boat. There, Felix saw a tree stump emerging from the water
There's
and
no
quickly
way.
maneuvered around it. After the sudden turn, Mary allegedly fell overboard. Felix then stated that he jumped in the water to look for his
Allegedly.
wife before coming back to the shore to alert the police. From the get-go, they were suspicious of him because
Yeah, pause. How the fuck does your wife fall into the water while you're on a boat and you don't have enough time to get in the water and look for her? Like, she doesn't just fucking disappear when she goes in the water. Like, you would be able to get into the water, find your wife, and then get out. Like, that's not how that stuff works, bro.
To get back to the shore, he had to pass by multiple other boats, a few docks, and even a fully staffed ice house, so they arrested Felix on the spot. 2 days later, Mary's body was recovered from the river. To everyone present, the evidence clearly pointed to murder. Her mouth was gagged with a scarf. The back of her head showed a large
water is
open
not
wound,
a
as if she
nether
had
portal,
been hit with a
literally.
bludgeoning weapon, and the sleeves of her
She didn't
college
go to the
sweater were
fucking
covered
void.
in blood. But to the surprise of everybody present and the detectives involved, the coroner had a different opinion, one that completely cleared Felix's name and immediately ended the investigation.
He was absolutely a suspect in her death.
But he was released 3 days later. Why?
The coroner, at the time,
Pause. Before the coroner says, because they just said here on the screen that it was an accidental death. She was gagged and bound, but the coroner said it was an accidental death. What kind of bullshit, bro? Why do you even have a job? Yeah, probably,
ruled
right?
that the death was an accidental drowning. As a prosecutor, how do I prosecute a murder case when the coroner says it's not a murder? So they really had to let him go.
It destroyed my mother. It left a hole in me I have still today.
The revelation that, just like herself, Mary's mother had been left hanging by the authorities enraged Mary Rose. Now, not only was she seeking justice for Annette, but also for Mary Horton.
I never let go of hope that maybe, somebody would believe what I knew to be true.
But there was no way around it. She needed concrete evidence if she ever wished to be heard by the authorities. When she shared these concerns with Mary's brother, he confided something in her. Since 1975, he has received many calls from people looking for a young woman named Sharon Hansley, Felix's next girlfriend, who also disappeared under mysterious circumstances.
What the frick? He's
Her
killing all
mother
of his
called
girlfriends?
for years, wondering if anyone had seen Sharon. When she told me that, my ears perked up. I thought, oh my gosh, now I've got something to work with.
Once again, Mary Rose needed to hit the road to
Yeah,
continue her
3 girlfriends
investigation.
he's killed.
This time, she headed to Bismarck, North
Well,
Dakota.
not even just
to meet
girlfriends,
with
like
Brian
wives where he
Hensley,
has
Sharon's
children
brother.
with.
My fondest memories of my sister Sharon are just sunshine and beads, and a lot of people describe her as a free spirit.
That was the kind of personality that permeated the late 60s in America. And since the death of his wife, Felix too adopted the hippie lifestyle. He became a wandering preacher, the head of his own personal cult. It was around this time that he met 21-year-old Sharon Hensley out on her first trip to California.
He had a way with women and just a
Literally.
silver tongue.
Don't get in a
I think
relationship
he
if you don't
said
want one, bro.
Exactly what she wanted to hear.
They were living from vineyard to vineyard, living on grapes and kind of freewheeling around.
After joining the cult of the Holy Order of Mans for a short period of time, the couple's journey took a sour turn. Felix's drug use was becoming more frequent, along with his violent and controlling behavior toward Sharon.
At that point, I believe she was with him out of fear. She didn't know how to get out of the situation.
After visiting her family one last time before heading out to South America with Felix, Sharon called her mother to say goodbye. Felix was probably right next to her, listening to every word she said, but her mother knew, from her voice only, that her daughter was in danger.
Romantic killer,
When my
but you
mom got
actually
off
have
the phone,
literally.
she told my dad, Sharon's in deep trouble. She's crying out for help.
But nothing came out of it. The next communication they received was a letter from Felix, claiming Sharon left him to travel to Australia on a boat
Oh,
with some
yeah,
strangers
totally.
they met in Florida. Obviously, the Hensleys weren't duped, but with zero evidence to go forth, they filled a missing person report, and the police didn't look into it for over a year.
The letter that we received
The
from
police make me so
Felix,
angry in these cases.
we clearly
His
just
second
like,
girlfriend dead, and the police
my
were just like,
God,
eh.
This is such BS.
This was until an old arrest report concerning
Momo
Felix and
Hiki.
Sharon resurfaced. Unbeknownst to the family of Mary Horton, Felix took
Literally.
their son Bill with him when he first left for California. From then on, Bill was forced to follow his strung-out father everywhere he went. For years, his son endured his daily abuse and mistreatment until the age of 8, when he ran away to seek any help he could find.
Oh my god.
So Bill went no shoes, no socks to the police station and said, my daddy's making me smoke marijuana and he'd take LSD and I want to go home.
This led to the arrest of both Felix and Sharon for child endangerment. Mary Rose thought that paying a visit to the now adult Bill could provide her with more clues regarding his father's whereabouts, so she packed her things once again and left for Kansas to meet with Bill and his family.
Bill Vale
We
was
got the
very open.
bows.
He was
Slowly,
very
it's
kind
slowly
to me,
coming together.
compassionate. He was a good man. And I realized he was petrified of his dad.
Bill was initially reluctant to share too much information regarding his father. He wanted to help Mary Rose, but needed Felix to stay away from his wife and children. But Bill was ready to take that risk if it meant he could finally get justice for his mother. What he ended up revealing to Mary on that day confirmed all of her fears. When he was 8, just before he went to the police for help, he overheard a conversation between Sharon and Felix.
He told her that he had murdered my mother. And I heard the girlfriend saying, "Oh, I know you must just feel responsible for it. You know, you just feel responsible." He said, "No, you don't understand. I really did kill her."
What the
Following
fuck?
Felix and Sharon's arrest, Bill had to testify against his own father. 3 months later, the pair was released and continued to travel together. His son was then adopted by his grandparents, but the fear he had toward his father lingered. He couldn't help but think that Felix would eventually come back. When he did 5 years later, he claimed it was only to see his son. But one detail bothered Bill: Sharon wasn't with him.
When I was about 13, he said she would never bother anyone ever again. And I knew what that meant. There was nothing I could do with his information. I just remember being so angry again that he had told me this, and there was not a soul I could tell about it.
Yeah, like, what do you do if
Bill,
what do you do if your dad comes and tells you that your stepmom's never gonna bother anybody again? Like, and you know he killed your mom, and then he killed his stepmom, and you're just like you can't tell anybody because you're living in fear that your father could kill you if you told anybody.
This day onward, lived with the constant fear that if he ever revealed Felix's secret, he or his family could be his next victim. But Mary Rose's quest for justice echoed his own. He too wanted closure, not just for his mother, but also for Sharon and Annette. While most of Mary Rose's investigation took place in the 90s and early 2000s, Bill Vale eventually died from cancer in 2009, but made sure to get his local preacher to record his retelling of Felix's confession. The audio clips you've heard were actually from that interview, mere months before Bill's passing.
He wanted the truth to come out here for the victims. He knew what he had heard, and he never wavered on that, never.
He called me, and it was very close to the end. And he said, "At least now I'll get to see Mom."
After decades of investigating, Mary Rose
My
finally
heart.
felt like she had an actual case against Felix Vale. She still had no physical evidence, but she believed that the testimonies of the Hortons, the Hensleys, her own, and Felix's son Bill could
Dude, that's like
sufficiently prove to the
3
FBI
different
that the
families,
cases
bro.
needed to be reopened.
They had a special agent there that was working on serial killers and cold cases. He told me, "I believe you're absolutely right. We are dealing with a serial killer."
But when the time came to meet them, they were coldly informed that the agent in question had been let go following budget cuts imposed by the
What?
government.
There's
Their
no
entire
way.
cold case department was affected, and following this event, nobody ever followed up on Mary Rose. She was back at square one, with nobody willing to listen to her.
Dumb, bro.
I felt shame that I had gotten all the families excited about this. So it was a big letdown for me.
Even though things fizzled out, she continued to search for someone to
I hate that,
take
like,
a look at our situation.
I gotta pause. I hate that, like, sometimes you get FBI or police's situation on this team, or like on this situation, and they talk about it like, oh, she was so strong, like she stuck it out and she did all this work. It's like, yeah, but she did all this work because you were supposed to do this work. That is your job. And everybody who threw her aside when her daughter was missing, this daughter was missing, that other person's daughter was missing, that's 3 fucking people at least. Like, and it's just insane. It's insane to think they'd be like, she was so good, she carried it on her own, she did so well. It's like, you were supposed to do that. You let her down and she had to do it on her own. It's so crazy.
She just had that burning desire to want to get this guy so bad. She was consumed with it.
After almost 3 decades without Annette, I continued just doing my life, and I realized then I need help. I need some healing here.
In June 2011, almost 30 years after the disappearance of her daughter, Mary Rose was in her home listening to the radio when she heard about an investigative reporter who solved the notorious Mississippi burning murders. These 8 murder cases, all perpetrated by members of the Ku Klux Klan, remained cold for almost 50 years before he cracked them.
I was just sitting in my living room listening, and I realized, oh my gosh, this man is not afraid of cold cases. I need to contact him.
Without a minute to spare, Mary jumped on the phone and started making calls. Quickly enough, she managed to get in touch with the
There we
reporter in
go.
question, a
Hair
Mississippi
done.
resident named Jerry Mitchell.
I said, Jerry, if you knew there was a serial killer living in Mississippi as a free man, would you be interested in the case?
Well, yeah. And so she proceeds to tell me about Felix Vale.
She tried to explain the complex case to him as best she could, but one clue overlapped all the others. She recently learned that Felix moved back to Mississippi. When she expressed her intention to the reporter, his reaction took her by surprise.
She said, I'm coming down to confront Felix. I said, well, I want to go with you.
The pair drove up to the place in question, a remote and isolated trailer park beside the blackened
He said, I'm
remains of
coming,
an
bro.
old,
I do
burnt-down
cold cases.
house.
Let me in.
By now,
He
I'm
said,
starting to
let's
get
go, Jerry.
Suspicious about, where is he? Is he watching? I'm thinking along those lines.
But Mary didn't care. She was ready for anything. At 64 years old, she had enough of Felix Vale.
Well,
she would
yeah.
get to the truth, whatever it took.
She gets over there, and the back window was missing. So she crawled inside.
You didn't worry about the risks.
I don't worry about the risk.
Pause.
I just wanted to know the truth.
Well, did this say she was 64? I did it, boys. I finished my. Let's go, bub. Yeah, I saw you open Destiny, so I was like, you must have your homework done, Shawty. But 64, and she's like, she crawled into a serial killer's house at 64 to confront him. That's insane, bro. Let's go.
Inside the house, camera in hand, Mary Rose stumbled upon a collection
Oops,
of
sorry.
religious texts and a large haul of weapons.
Sorry, guys.
And she threw out a machete. And then she threw out another machete, and then another machete, and then another machete. And I'm like, what in the world have I gotten myself
He looks
into?
so excited.
After Mary Rose crawled back out of the house, the pair noticed someone running in their direction. It wasn't Felix, but one of his sisters, Kay Faulkner, who also lived on the property in an adjacent house. She was initially annoyed by their intrusion, but when they started to explain the reason behind their visit, the look on her face changed.
When I spoke to Kay Faulkner, Felix Vale's sister, she
Yeah,
was
he
like,
looks so
"Oh,
excited to solve this
I
cold
think
case.
he killed these women."
Surprised that his first day of investigating the case was so fruitful, Jerry Mitchell didn't waste any more time. He listened to Bill Vale's tape, interviewed the
course,
Hortons, the Hensleys, and Mary
never a
Rose,
problem,
then
my guy.
directly started to write. 4 years later, Gone, a book retelling his and Mary Rose's investigation, came out to great acclaim, collecting multiple awards. Following the buzz surrounding the book, the FBI contacted all the parties involved and reopened the cases.
I celebrated. I danced. I remember calling one of my
That's
brothers
like
and said, Fred, I got some
close
good
to
news.
30, 40 years.
He said, Mary, that's not good news. That's fabulous news.
They determined that Mary Horton Vale's case was the only one they could prosecute, since it was the only one with a confirmed death. But since her drowning was ruled accidental, the police never got their hands on any evidence related to the case. Almost 50 years after the event, all the evidence and involved staff were lost to time. With nothing else to latch onto, the FBI started looking for a DA eager enough to pick up the hopeless case.
I was minding my own business, walking down the hall to get some coffee, and the DA grabbed me and said, "Hey, how would you like to work on a 50-year-old murder case?" And foolishly, I told him I would do it.
The first thing Holland did was send a squad to bust out Felix's door and search his property more thoroughly. Amongst the mess of swords and holy order of man's literature, they got their hands on a series of personal journals stretching from the 80s to 2010.
We found Felix Vale's journals, almost 2,500 pages worth. And so in reading through the
And
journals,
of course, pause.
Felix,
They're about to say it, but of course he's gonna tell how he murdered all these women in these journals because he's stupid.
clearly tried to control every woman in his life. And a lot of times, through physical violence.
Killers have arrogance,
Felix even
bro.
had a whole section describing how he liked to drink raw blood, but nothing concerning the murders. With nothing conclusive at hand,
no, I thought he
Holland
was
started to
gonna
look
say
for
it.
someone, anyone, who was involved in the rescue effort at Calcasieu. Against all odds, one man survived the test of time, 90-year-old Ike Abshire.
Ike Abshire was a roommate with Felix Vale when Felix Vale lived in Lake Charles. Ike's father, ironically enough, owned a large boat. The sheriff's office hired Ike's fathers as part of the search party to look for Mary's body. Ike happened to be on his father's boat when Mary's body was recovered.
Holland and his DA then headed off to Lake Charles to meet with Ike at his home. They're greeted by a geriatric man in a wheelchair. Inside the home are piles upon piles of cardboard boxes with dates on them.
He says, "I got something for you." He gives us an envelope, and written on the envelope is a single word, Keep, K-E-E-P. Open up the envelope, and then I pull these 2 photographs out.
It was the lost pictures of the discovery of Mary Horton's body. Back in his office, Holland and his team were examining the pictures when fate struck down.
The forensic pathologist just happens to be walking past the table. He looks down at the pictures. He said, "Who murdered her?" And I said, "Okay, well, we got a murder case now."
Now armed with not only a
They're looking at the fucking photo. Sorry, this is funny, but it's not so funny. But they're looking at the photos and they're sipping their coffee, and the forensic pathologist walks by and she's like, "So who murdered her? Like, what's up with that?" And they're like, "Okay, boys, we know it's a murder now." Like,
confirmed piece of evidence, but also a direct witness. Holland charged Felix Vale with the murder of his first wife, Mary Horton Vale. His arrest quickly followed, and he was sent to Louisiana for trial.
Felix, what happened to Mary?
although he got away for fucking 50 years.
What about Sharon?
Like, he's old
Annette?
now, and he's had so much free
Felix,
time.
did you murder those women?
The trial opened on the testimony of Jerry Mitchell and Mary Rose, followed by Will Horton and Brian Hensley, and closed with Ike Abshire. His retelling of the night he helped recover Mary Horton's body finally put an end to any form of doubt still lingering in the mind of the jurors.
She had a scarf wrapped around her mouth and her neck. And her neck was all swollen around.
What's even worse is that, like, it's sad because they get justice, but at what cost? And it took so long when they could have done it years and years and years ago. And this guy, Ike, is like 94 years old or something. Like, he's quite old. And he's the only living piece left to explain what happened other than Felix, who committed the murders. It's insane, and it's really upsetting that it took so long for something like this to happen. And he's only going to spend so much time in prison because he already is so old, right?
Like it was sunk in. It looked like a big old knot. There wasn't a woman's knot.
So without him, without his testimony introducing the photos, I can't prove it's a murder. Ike Abshire was the key to the entire case.
3 months after his testimony, Ike Abshire died of old age, but the truth he was bearing shined through the procedures. In 2016, after only 10 minutes of deliberation, Felix Vale was finally convicted of Mary Horton's murder and sentenced to life.
Mary was sitting next to me, and Brian was sitting next to Mary, and we were holding hands.
We've become a family. The best part of this whole ordeal was getting to meet Mary Rose and getting to meet Will.
And when they said guilty, it really no words to describe it. It just felt so good. Finally, mission accomplished.
Sadly, the disappearance of Annette was left unaccounted for,
So
but more
sad.
verdicts wouldn't have added much to Vale's sentence. In the eyes of Mary Rose, truth prevailed nonetheless.
The most important thing for me was that he was be convicted of murder, whether it was just for Mary Horton or all three women, and that he would serve the rest of his life in prison.
Yeah, right.
This was it. He was never gonna get out of jail.
And for Sharon, her brother Ryan finally got some form of closure.
As far as for Sharon, I was able to have a memorial service for my sister, and it felt so good. I felt like I fulfilled a promise
Oh, my heart, bro.
to my mom.
But the same cannot be necessarily said for Mary Rose, even 4 decades after the facts.
I don't really know exactly what closure means. I haven't found Annette's body. There's always going to be a piece of me that my heart is always going to be broken.
As a way to cope with her loss, Mary Rose started to write letters to her daughter after the trial. In them, she talks to Annette almost as if she was still there to help her forgive herself for the decisions she made all those years ago, and hopefully, one day, overcome her grief.
Dear Annette, I want you to know that I'm all right. Life has been challenging and painful since you went away. The night was restless and full of ruminating about all the mistakes that I made around you and Felix, but I can't go back. I finally, and with gratitude, can weep thinking of it all. So sad that maybe my choices would have made a difference and saved your precious life. I feel like I've been suppressing tears for so many years as I've kept myself busy trying to find justice. But now the tears are flowing and they feel heavy and deep and old and very salty, as though I've been holding them inside for all this time and And now they can
Well,
come
she was
out.
so strong.
And I can weep and feel sad, and it's okay. It's okay.
She put in so much effort to try and find her daughter, and the fact that she went there to do that is crazy. Yeah, she was so strong for her child. She did so much. And, like, she probably is filled with guilt and regret, but I don't think that anything she could have done, I don't know what she could have done differently to change the outcome of the situation because her daughter was in so deep. Do we watch this? I feel like we watched this. Let's watch this. The Case of Lancey Phillips Seal.
It's June 1995 at 3:45 a.m.
Also, this one I got so far, guys. Very slow, but I'm working on it.
Been reported missing by their family. Unknown
We're
to
getting
them at
there.
the time,
We're getting somewhere.
There's a serial killer on the loose in the area, evading captivity. As a police officer checks the mom's office and photographs the scene, he finds 11-year-old Lacey tied to a chair, head down, motionless. But when he takes another photograph, something unexpected happens.
When I started to take the photograph, she kind of turned and looked up at me. It's kind of like seeing someone rise from the dead.
I woke up, I heard, and I thought, is there someone taking pictures? And I turned my head, and when I did, I heard a man say, "This one's alive."
The mystery surrounding Lacey and her mother and what happened to the other victims of this serial killer would go without answers until the little girl in this photo was found alive.
Okay, Lacey, are you still awake? Yes, ma'am. You're such a brave little girl.
The year is 1995. 11-year-old Lacey Phillips lives with her mom, Mary, her dad, James, and two older siblings, her 14-year-old brother, Jesse, and her 17-year-old sister, Darla, in a loving, supportive home in the small town
I had to
of
stretch.
Bald Knob,
My legs are so
Arkansas.
sore.
June 6th, 1995. Lacey is being looked after by her older sister,
Okay.
Darla, as it's summer break and their mom is at work.
Also,
At
my
4
VTuber's
p.m.,
not moving a
Lacey
lot.
has
It's just because
scheduled
I'm like
dentist
head
appointment,
down, kind of.
So Darla drops Lacey at their mom's work, a local county tax office.
I walked inside the office and we were talking, laughing, no big deal. And my mom went to, kiss me goodbye, tell me I love you.
Darla leaves to spend the night at a friend's house, not yet knowing that would be the last time she would ever see her mom.
The last thing I said to my mom is, I love you. I will see you later.
A few hours go by, and Lacey's father, James, is at home with her brother, Jesse. They both start to worry when they see that neither Lacey nor Mary are returning from the dentist appointment. It's unusual that Mary didn't warn them she would be late. As the hours pass and the sun goes down, they call the police, fearing the worst. As the police dispatcher talks to the panicked father, he tries to get as much information as possible about the missing people, asking him where the last place Mary could have been.
You got a mother and daughter that haven't been seen or heard from since 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The red flags are waving, so to speak.
Investigators learn about the dentist appointment and that Mary works at the local county tax office. Detectives must act fast because, in a missing persons investigation, time goes against them. A police officer is sent to Mary's workplace, the last place she and Lacey had been seen, knowing it might be too late if they don't find the young mother and daughter soon.
I'm shaking so bad and it's affecting my lines. It doesn't really matter because I'll line it again afterwards, but it's totally affecting my lines.
The deputy arrives at the tax office's parking lot. Strangely, it's empty except for one pickup truck parked near the side of the building. Wondering if it belongs to the missing mother, he runs the license plate number and confirms it is registered to Mary Phillips. The police officer walks to the front of the building. Knocking on the door, he notices it's unlocked. He enters, looking around the dark office. Then, with his flashlight, he sees something lying on the floor. It's the body of a young woman. She seems badly beaten, with her hands bound tightly behind her back. He rushes to check for signs of life, but she's unresponsive. Even the officer with crime scene experience has trouble processing what he sees, calling for reinforcement. The police investigator begins to photograph the scene, focusing on every detail when he suddenly notices
We
a
be
trail
here,
of
we
blood
be
leading to
doing.
a closed door. Maybe the victim and her killer struggled in another room. Intrigued, the officer carefully opens the door and discovers a small bathroom with a toilet and sink, but his attention immediately locks in the middle of the room. A young girl is tied to a chair. She's slumped over, motionless, covered in blood. It appears she's been hit in the head several times. Investigators desperately need answers, but so
Oh my
far,
God, it's all
they have
good.
no
Don't worry about
suspects
it.
or leads about what happened. And without any survivors or security camera
Vegas
footage,
was
the
here.
chance
We
of
had the
finding a
good.
lead
We got
suspect
mods on the
diminishes
job.
drastically. But as the officer starts photographing the second
No,
crime
I
scene
cannot,
and his
bro.
camera flashes, something unexpected happens.
And when I started to take the photograph, she kind of turned and looked up at me. It was a shock, a real shock. You can imagine, it's kind of like seeing someone rise from the dead. Well, immediately I told the other officers that we need to get an ambulance down there, that she was still alive.
The 11-year-old girl is
I
Lacey
don't like
Phillips,
these
and
lines,
against
bro.
all
Hold
odds,
on.
she is still breathing. Her eyes are wide
We
open,
doing this again.
staring back at the officer. He immediately helps her out of the chair, reassuring her even though he sees she's in terrible condition and needs medical attention as soon as possible. But the only thing on the girl's mind is her mother, as she asks the officer where she is and if she's okay.
I told her that didn't need to worry about her mom, just need to worry about her right now.
The ambulance arrives, and she is rushed to the nearby hospital, falling in and out of consciousness. She appears to have been severely hit in the head multiple times and has signs of strangulation on her neck. She's rushed to the emergency room, where doctors assess the
That's a
girl's
little bit
injuries.
better.
Her jaw is fractured.
Not
and the medical
really, but
personnel
it's
will
kinda
need to
better.
reconstruct her skull. Lacey's father, James, now at the hospital, is in a state of shock. Just 15 hours ago, life was normal, and now his wife is gone, and doctors are not even sure if his youngest daughter will make it. The perpetrator, still on the loose, leaves investigators with no leads, evidence, or potential suspects. The only hope of uncovering the truth is if Lacey wakes up and shares her story. Finally, after hours of waiting,
There we
Lacey
go,
is in stable
boys.
condition,
Quality
and police
Band-Aid.
investigators can interview her. Detectives enter her hospital room with a recorder to get a statement, hoping she can remember any details.
Okay, Lacey, are you still awake, good? Yes, ma'am. Do you remember at all what it looked like?
It's June 7th when the truth of what actually happened
There we
is
go.
revealed.
I woke up from Children's Hospital and I was in ICU. They asked me to tell my story as to what happened. I think the details of that day are just engraved in me and part of me.
Lacey begins to speak, and with incredible detail, she explains to officers what exactly happened to her and her mother the night before. June 6th, at around 4 p.m., Lacey is at her mother's work in the local county tax office. Her mother finishes
Okay,
her
boys,
last
we're
tasks
getting
of the
somewhere
day
now.
before taking her daughter to her scheduled dentist appointment. They are almost ready to leave, when suddenly, a man walks into the office.
He came in and he walked in front of the desk, so we kind of both, Mom and I kind of both just stepped back.
At first, they assume it's just another customer, but soon realize something is wrong with this person. He has latex gloves on, holds a coil of wire, and carries a pistol. He holds up the weapon and threatens them, saying it's a robbery. Mary, terrified, rushes to protect Lacey, worried what this man might do. But he interrupts her, telling the mother to come closer, and then proceeds to bind her wrists and hands with the metal wire. Next, he yells at the 11-year-old to follow him
that's
into
stressful.
the bathroom, forcing her to sit in a chair in the middle of the room.
So I sat in it, and he tied both my arms to the chair behind my back. And I said, "Don't hurt my mama." And he said, "I'm not gonna hurt your mama, I'm gonna hurt you."
The man then takes the butt of his gun and hits Lacey in the head, and then everything goes
He
dark.
said, "I'm not gonna
He
hurt
then
your mama,
leaves,
I'm gonna hurt
closing
you."
the
Oh
door
my
behind
God.
him. She is left alone in the room, tied, unable to move. But after a few minutes, Lacey regains consciousness.
I'm just looking all around, and there's just blood absolutely everywhere.
She screams desperately for her mother when suddenly the bathroom door swings open, and in that moment of hope, she anticipates her mother's face, ready to untie her. But to her dismay, it's the man re-entering the room. He is furious, as the yelling could have alerted a neighbor, so he decides to finish the job, grabbing onto Lacey's neck. He then leaves her in the dark room and disappears from the office, but doesn't know that the girl is still breathing. Hours pass as she struggles in vain against tightly bound restraints, weakening with
That's
each
gotta be
passing
so
moment.
stressful
Lacey's
being there,
only
too.
hope is that someone discovers her before it's too late. Over 12 hours later, the young girl is still immobile, half awake, when she begins to hear a faint clicking noise. the electronic clicking noise gets louder and more frequent.
It took a few times after I heard the clicking noise to realize what it was.
I have to pause too. I think this is so terrible that they took pictures of the crime scene without checking whether anybody was alive. I mean, the thing is, obviously you don't want to tamper with a crime scene, right? And she probably visibly looked dead. But that's got to be so terrifying that, like, somebody assumed you were dead and was taking pictures of you. When, like, if he had felt your pulse or whatever, if he had checked to make sure, see if either of them were alive, that's the first thing I would have done as a police officer too. Even if they looked dead, they could still be alive. And you, like, not moving with enough sense of urgency and checking if they're alive before continuing to take pictures, it's terrifying. Indeed, like, I don't understand. And especially as a child, right? Like, you think you're saved, but then when you look up, it's just some guy taking pictures of you. And then, of course, obviously, he changes his tune because he realizes she's alive. But still, like, the thought of the fact that somebody thinks that you're dead it's terrifying, right? They should have checked first.
I wanted to move, but, my body just wouldn't let me move. And so then I just stopped and listened. And then that's when I told myself that clicking noise, I said, is someone taking a picture?
She turns her head behind her and sees a police officer with a camera taking a picture. Lacey is shocked and can't believe it. Someone has finally come to save her.
And I just sat there for a second, just... And I said, can you untie me, please?
The officer quickly helps
Yeah,
the young
right?
girl. As the ambulance arrives, she is rushed to the intensive care unit of a nearby children's hospital.
Fucking insane.
I remember people kept asking me questions, and I was answering them, but I kept saying, where's my mom? Is my mom okay? And they would never answer me.
Lacey is in her hospital room, confused and scared.
Face.
Her older sister, brother, and father are with her, bringing balloons and stuffed animals. But she can't help but wonder where her mother is.
I really thought that maybe Mom was in the hospital too, and that, maybe she had got hurt.
However, as Lacey remains seated in her bed for the entire day without anyone providing answers about her mother,
That's gotta be
an
terrifying,
unsettling
too.
certainty creeps in.
Someone should have
Eventually,
just told
her father
her.
steps into her hospital room and comes.
I mean, I get giving her time, but, like, the thing is, it would just be more, like, traumatic and stressful, especially for her brain that is already ongoing, like, some kind of concussion or whatever happened when he hit her over the head, right? It's less effective for them to hide it from her and create onset, like, paranoia than just tell her and have her be upset. I feel, right? Maybe that's just my opinion.
And he got down on his knees and kind of put his arms on me, and he said, I just wanted to tell you that Mom is in heaven with great-grandma. And I just looked at him, and of course people are crying, and I said, okay.
The harsh reality hits Lacey. Her mom is not coming back. Meanwhile, the man responsible escapes capture. The little girl realizes she's the only hope to stop this dangerous predator. When investigators
There we
surround
go.
her bedside, she summons every ounce of courage and recounts all the details of her ordeal, determined to bring her mother's tormentor to justice.
And I told him specifically from the head to the toes, everything he was wearing, what he looked like.
Did he have long hair? He had short hair?
No, what he hit you with? What was it?
She describes the man in great detail, and then suddenly remembers a specific feature he has that will prove to be a crucial clue for the investigators to narrow down their suspects.
He had a
There we go.
teardrop tattoo.
What are we
on his
thinking, boys?
face
I think it looks good.
That I will always remember.
Lacey was able to tell the deputy that
A little lower.
the guy that beat her had a tattoo on his arm
Yeah.
and a tattoo of a teardrop under one of his eyes.
When the information of the man's tattoos circles around the local law enforcement, they immediately connect the dots. 31-year-old Jack Jones. He has the exact teardrop tattoo described by Lacey and was known by local police for many robbery charges. But what they don't know is that he is also responsible for the murder of at least 2 other women and has been evading captivity for years.
There we go.
Now, thanks to Lacey's testimony, police have a chance to uncover the truth and finally bring him to justice. The officer goes to his last known residence and brings Jack Jones into the police station for questioning.
Anytime you're approaching a suspect, you're thinking, what approach should I use to get this guy to talk this?
To the cop's surprise, he starts talking openly and without appearing to conceal any information about what he did to Mary and Lacey.
He was just, matter of fact, as I recall, just telling his story.
Jones says he randomly saw Mary behind the counter of her office and stalked her, deciding to come back later that day to murder her.
Jack Jones's first
It's like
contact
on
with
a
Mary was
whim.
the day he killed her.
He tells the investigators how he cut the cord off the coffee pot and tied it around her neck and how he choked her with his hands. He claims he was seeking revenge for his own wife's rape, since nothing had been done about it.
I guess he
What?
thought that if he'd been done wrong with that.
Pause. That's such fucking flawed logic. Okay, so your wife was attacked and raped, and so you're gonna go and shoot and kill a woman and her daughter? Like, what a lick of sense does that make? One, they have nothing to do with it, right? They don't even know him. Yeah, they don't even know him. And he's gonna go and kill them over something just because he's frustrated and he's mad.
Justified him doing wrong to somebody else.
This man right here didn't do his job.
I told them to do his job and get that boy in jail, or I was gonna have something happen. They didn't listen.
According to Jones, his wife was sexually assaulted.
Oh,
but he
so
neglected
basically-
to mention how she didn't press charges. Police were
So basically, he said that, like, if you do not get the guy who got my wife, then I'm gonna do something, and you're gonna, like, I'm gonna do something, that's gonna affect you, I guess, theoretically. Like, you're gonna regret not putting this guy in jail. But the wife didn't press charges, so then it's like, it's not their job to put him in jail.
never able to confirm any of his claims. Following his confession and Lacey's statement, on June 7, 1995, police arrested Jack Jones for the rape and murder of Mary Phillips and the attempted murder of young Lacey. She, her father, and her siblings can breathe a sigh of relief as they now know the man responsible is in custody. The pain of the loss of Mary leaves the family heartbroken, but their fight is not over yet. To ensure there is justice for Mary and make sure the attacker never hurts anyone else again, he must be found guilty in court. Jack Jones' trial began in April of 1996. After having the evidence meticulously laid out for them and playing Lacey's audio statement from the hospital, the jury rejected Jones' defense and found him guilty on all charges. The punishment the judge imposed for Mary's murder was death by lethal injection. He also received a sentence of life in prison for rape, plus 30 years and a $15,000 fine for the attempted murder of Lacey.
Oh,
While
that's
on death row,
terrible.
Jones confessed to killing other young women.
Oh.
32-year-old Lorraine Barrett, whom he assaulted and strangled to death in 1991.
Yeah,
And
so
years
it really
later,
had
in a
nothing to do
letter
with his fucking
sister,
wife.
He confessed to the murder of 20-year-old Regina Harrison in 1983, when he was only a teenager. Both murders were later linked to Jones through DNA evidence preserved at the crime scenes. Decades go by, and Jack Jones remains in prison, awaiting his death sentence. Lacey is on a long journey of healing as she rebuilds a new life for herself and her family, never forgetting the memory of her mother.
It's still such an overwhelming process that I've been through. You know, I miss having a mom. She was taken away so soon, her smile would light up the room.
Over the years, Jack Jones is continually up for parole, and every time, without fail, Lacey stands strong, giving a
Good.
voice to her mom and the other victims of Jack
That's
Jones.
great. That's amazing
I've
for
been
her.
here before. This is not the first time I've been here, and me and my family have been here. Well, I came one time and said I had a 4-year-old daughter. Okay, well now I have an 11-year-old daughter, the same age as I was when Mom was taken away from me and my family. My love for my mother, my respect, my memories will always be there, and he can never take that away from me.
Today, Lacey is now married and a loving mother of her own. Throughout all the pain, she was able to process what happened to her and live her life to the fullest.
You live the life you're given, and you do it to the best of your ability. I'm proud that I did have her as a mom. She was proud of me. She was very proud of me.
I have to just keep my head up and think of the things that make me
That
happy.
looks
like
kinda
my
correct.
husband and my kids.
Kinda,
and
sorta, maybe.
Always be here for me.
That's so sad, though. is heartbreaking. I don't know what to say. It's upsetting. I think that, like, again, you could tell because he had already killed multiple women before that. It had nothing to do with anything that had happened to his wife. It was just that he was a horrible person. That's pretty much just what it was. He was just a horrible person, and he chose to try to make an excuse for the bad things that he did. The case of Collier Laundry. Let's watch
I
this.
heard a scream coming from my sister. I heard a thud.
Well, okay, could you describe this sound for us?
Okay, it was about this loud. And then I just panicked.
All right, now, did you get up at that time to investigate what had happened?
No, I did not.
And could you tell the jury why you didn't?
Because I was extremely afraid of my father, and I always have.
This is 12-year-old Collier Landry, the only witness in a murder case involving his own father, Dr. Jack Boyle.
How long were you and Noreen married?
Almost 20 years. And allegedly her body was found under my basement in a new home in Erie, Pennsylvania
Allegedly.
on January 25th.
Any children?
Yes, one natural child, Collier.
How does he feel about all this? I mean, this...
Well, he's very distraught. He was manipulated by David Messmore of the Mansfield Police Department and a few other people.
Thank you so much
So
for
the
the
child
work.
basically was brainwashed into thinking his daddy's a murderer.
Collier sidled up to me and he started whispering. And he said, my mother would never leave me. This is not right. My mother would never do this. In our line of work, we call that a clue.
Compelled to fight his own father, 12-year-old Collier Landry didn't hesitate to face off against the local police department, the media, and even his own family to find his mother. With a little help from one dissident detective, he summoned his courage and started investigating on his own. But little did he know, he was also on the list of his father's future victims.
The thing that was overwhelming that fear was my desire to find out what happened to my mother and get justice for her.
In the city of Mansfield, Ohio, known for its steelwork and heavy industry, 11-year-old Collier lives with his father Jack, his mother Noreen, and his newly adopted sister, Elizabeth. At the time, Jack's by far the most successful doctor in town.
He had
I'm back.
what the
Welcome back,
investigators called
Carlo.
the largest medical practice in Richland
We just
County.
started up a new video.
1 out of 13 people used Dr. Boyle as their physician.
But behind closed doors, Jack was a completely different person. Described as a rageaholic by his wife, the man has a quick temper and often goes off without a warning. One day, while Collier was sitting in the living room playing video games, he fell victim to one of his father's bouts.
He just started ripping off all the games and throwing them at my head. Then he started making me call myself a stupid little fat boy. He'd say, "What are you?" And I'd say, "A stupid little fat boy." And he'd say even louder, he'd say, "What are you?" And I said, "A stupid little fat boy."
This clip was from 1990. At the
my
time,
God.
Collier was still a child, but as an adult, he isn't shy of saying the actual words his father used to torture him psychologically.
My father called me a pussy and a little fat and all these derogatory terms, you know, not to use the word.
Don't worry,
today,
it's
but this
literally
is
no
truly
problem.
Toxic masculinity.
We're all
treating your
just
son this way.
chilling.
But his other faults were hardly a secret to anyone. Everybody in town knew of his infidelities, and Jack never had to face the consequences of his actions until the day he casually introduced his latest girlfriend to his own son.
My dad got out and he says, "Well, look who's here, it's Sherry." Then I turned to Sherry and I looked at her hand and she had a ring on. And I turned to her and I said, "Sherry, my mother has a ring like that."
After Collier noticed the ring, he knew he had to tell Noreen.
I knew I was in an impossible position. I said, "Mom, please sit down. There's something I have to tell you. I think Daddy has a girlfriend."
Noreen had reached her limit. She already knew about Jack's cheating, but involving Collier in his affairs was the last straw, so she filed for divorce. Jack tried to convince her to leave Ohio and start fresh, but they ended up staying for the holidays, during which it all went relatively well, until New Year's Eve, when Collier was awakened by a piercing scream coming from his parents' bedroom.
Shortly after that, his father, he heard him walking down the hallway to his room. And he remembers his father opening the door and looking in at him for a long period of time.
Paralyzed by fear, Collier didn't move an inch and waited for his father to leave his room. He kept trying to make sense of what just happened. In the morning, he finally found the courage within himself to get out of his room and face Jack.
And so I went downstairs and I said, "Where's my mother?" to my father, and he said, well, Mommy took a little vacation, Collier. And then I didn't know what to say. I just panicked. And so I said, and he said she'll be back in a few days, and then she just left.
Convinced his mother wouldn't just leave him, Collier grabbed.
Hold up. Someone's knocking on my door. I'm just gonna take a hot minute to go pee, guys, and I'll be right back, okay? Okay, I've returned. I'm faster than fast, boys. Don't even worry. My brother needed to borrow the keys to the car because I think he's taking my sister's girlfriend somewhere. Okay, let's start it back up, boys. First of all, the thing is, to me, is that, like, what a fucking strong 11-year-old. Crazy. Oh, thank you! Yeah, like, what a strong 11-year-old... 11... Fuck. What a strong kid for standing up to his father when he knows that his father did something to his mother. That's gotta be terrifying. I think I would just, like, I would... Fight or flight or freeze, and I would freeze, or I would... I'll book it. I would be so terrified, and... It's crazy that he has enough strength to do that. Hi!
Grabbed her phone book and ran upstairs before his father.
So I'd hidden these phone numbers. I take the cordless phone, I go into the bathroom, and I lock the door. And I start calling every single one of my mother's friends. And I tell them what happened. I said, I need you to call the police.
While talking to his mother's friends, Collier remembered how scared and depressed his mother had been during the past few years. He couldn't believe he would have to deal with his father on his own from now on.
There's a sadness in her eyes. There was just such a sadness with her because she felt so alone. And she probably felt very trapped. And that there was no way out.
When the police arrived, Jack simply told them that he and Noreen got into an argument and she left the house by her own means.
Do you have occasion to talk to Noreen early morning of December 31st of 1989?
Yes, I was on the sofa in the family room, and Noreen came down and woke me up and threw credit cards at me.
Did she leave the house then?
Mm-hmm. Yes, she did.
She would not have left her child.
Car at the edge of the driveway.
Left in that car?
Left in that car.
He insisted on knowing who called them and only gave up the hard look he had towards Collier when the officer said it was one of Noreen's friends.
I'm afraid of my father. And I think my father just killed my mother. So I'm really afraid of him, and I'm afraid for my life. I know that every day, the longer the time goes on, my life is in more and more danger.
At this point, mere days after Noreen was declared missing, nobody suspected foul play. Collier was only a kid after all, and Jack's story made sense.
That's
Even
insane.
David Messmore, a renowned detective from the region, was easily deceived by the situation.
That's so dumb.
So if you looked at the actual circumstances, they were believable. The fact that she walked out the door,
I personally hate the fact that people don't trust children. And it's like, you have if you knew, like, I feel like, especially in this situation when they're in between, right? Your child's gonna know you probably the best out of any of them, and more than the husband, right? And so he's gonna know, and so you should believe the child. One, who you could tell that he's so fearful for his life. There's no way fear did not show up on that little boy's face, and they just were like, gotta go, sorry.
was very upset. I don't know whether other issue may have come up, maybe another girlfriend or something like that, and would have caused her to just up and leave. And that's not beyond belief. It's not even unusual in my business.
When Messmore met with Collier for the first time, he seemed distraught, repeating over and over that his mother would never leave him. But Christine Boyle, Jack's 76-year-old mother, quickly dismissed his claims. She was also present on the night of Noreen's disappearance and did hear some commotion, but went on to support Jack's story. She told the detective that 3 years ago, during the holidays, Noreen got into a fight with him and left without warning, only to come back the next day. She explained that her son asked her to take care of Collier and Elizabeth while he went to Erie, Pennsylvania, to work on the new home he purchased as part of their plan to move away. Days went by without any signs of Jack or Noreen until one neighbor tipped the police, claiming that he was up very early on January 1st, and they didn't notice anyone leaving their home at the time. So they showed up to investigate, but this time had a whole forensic unit ready to comb through the house.
When we arrived on Hawthorne
No
Lane,
one fucking
we were
believes the
fully
kid, which is
staffed
so
with
sad.
lab coats. We went in to process the scene for the potential evidence of maybe a homicide happened. And when we got done, we pretty much just shrugged our shoulders and left.
This second visit, however, turned out to be way more useful than initially thought. For a minute, Detective Messmore finally had the time to listen to Collier without his grandmother around. Again, he went over the details of what he heard that night, but also spoke of what his father had been up to since then.
Collier also told me that after his father got back from that weekend in Erie, his shoulders and arms were very sore, and Collier had to rub liniment on him, which was unusual.
Messmore was impressed by the details Collier recalled in such a short burst, seeing that his grandmother was walking toward them and would probably attempt to dismiss Collier once more. He quickly told the kid to call him at the station as soon as he could, and gave him his card, and left with Christine following behind him.
Normally, if you talk to 10, 11-year-olds, you kind of take part of what they say as being really accurate. But in his case, he was so convincing that I thought, I'm gonna have to look into this some more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Determined to find justice for his mother, Collier set out to find a way to talk to Messmore away from his home.
The thing is, especially in a child's brain, I mean, this is like everybody's brain for the most part, right? But when you undergo or receive some sort of trauma or something that affects your brain, the details that you can remember, you either remember them or you don't. Like, it depends on the situation, right, of the person. But you can remember some incredibly, like, accurate details, whether you be a child or an adult. And these things either pop out when you speak to somebody about them or they don't, right? And especially for this kid who's so adamant and he knows that his mom is either, like, something's gone, like, something's happened to her, him speaking these facts is not irregular, and a lot of times children can retain more information in these cases because a lot of times, like, either they were left alone because they were children so they didn't get hurt, quote unquote, in the situation, or they were believed to be innocent and so da-da-da, right? The kid has a lot of knowledge and people will just throw it under the bus because he's a child. And it's so dumb.
I went to school the next day and I told the principal at the school, you need to call down at the Mansfield Police Department and ask for this guy named Lieutenant David Messmore.
Aware that his father could probably kill him for conspiring.
Also, I'm sorry, I have to stop and go back. Damn, this man looks good. Anyways,
I'm gonna ask for this guy named Lieutenant
not
David
important.
Messmore.
Aware
I've
that
seen
his
like
father could
he
probably
showed up in
kill him
multiple
for
of these things, and
conspiring
I'm like,
against him, Collier stuck to the safety
my
of his
man
school to
getting
discuss
gains,
with
apparently.
Messmore. This relationship was of great
Cute
use
kid
to
too.
the
Look at his
detective
little
because he had been
hairstyle.
barred from entering the Boyles' house after his last visit yielded no results. It was almost as if nobody thought Jack could have possibly done something wrong to his wife.
I developed this rapport with Dave Messmore where he would come to school and I would be like, I told him first day, I was like, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna run upstairs, and I'm gonna pull the bookcases out of the wall, the shelves, and look behind them and see if I can find my mother's body. I'm not even 12 years old at this time.
Messmore was worried about Collier's safety and pressed him to stop investigating on his own. But, knowing that the kid probably couldn't help himself, the detective made sure he understood the gravity of his situation. Collier needed to be absolutely certain he couldn't get caught, because if his father was truly a murderer, there was no way to guarantee he wouldn't take care of him in the same way he did Noreen.
These are the conversations I'm having with this man. I'm like, I know if she was gonna leave, she would take this person, she would bring this, I'm gonna see if that person's in the house.
And this back and forth went on for weeks. Messmore would ask Collier what he found inside the house, while Collier would ask him what progress the police made. Every morning, the kid would go to his school's principal's office and ask the same question.
You need to get him here. Like every day, I'm like wanting to talk to him. Like, what happens? What do you know? What do you this?
But there wasn't much to share on Messmore's side. His department was pretty much convinced that Jack's retelling of the events was correct. To them, this was only a woman who left after learning of her husband's cheating, not a murder, not an assault, not even a crime. So the detective had his back against the wall. It was only him and an 11-year-old boy against his whole department, against their whole town.
Unbeknownst to me, like he was catching from his captain because it's like, okay, you're now investigating a doctor in our small town. We don't do that. Like, they got into a fight, she left. He goes, yeah, but there's something about this kid.
As his captain was about to close the case, Collier came to Messmore with a new clue. The police had no proof of Sherry's involvement with Jack up to this point, but Collier, while his father left him alone in his truck to pay for gas, started going through the glove compartment and found 2 photographs of him and Sherry, inside and outside of his new home in Erie.
During this time, so I find the picture of the house. I tell Messmore about this.
Immediately, Messmore assembled his team once again. They contacted
Assemble
the real estate
Avengers.
agent behind the transaction and all the hardware stores in Mansfield and Erie, asking if anybody had bought a shovel in the last month. They even called Sherry herself, asking about the affair. This level of scrutiny tipped Jack off. There was someone working against him. The police couldn't know all of these details without someone feeding them information. And this is when he told Collier that they would be leaving for Florida the following day. When asked why, Jack was evasive. That same day, Collier called Messmore in a panic.
He realized that, like, literally, this is the only witness to a potential murder, and this guy's gonna kill his son.
After listening to Collier, the detective reassured him that they would get him out of Jack's house as soon as possible, and that they would stop investigating until they could guarantee his safety. The following day, CPS agents and police officers raided the house.
On the morning of January 24th, 1990, I woke up at 6 a.m. to these 2 strangers in my room, and they're literally like, you have 20 minutes to pack a bag and your things, we're leaving.
With Collier out of harm's way, Messmore and the Mansfield Police Department went on with their investigation. First, they met with Michelle Barth, the realtor
This took
who
me like
sold the
20
house
times
to
to
Jack.
do that.
She explained that the woman who signed the contract
getting
with
the fit
Jack
on.
wasn't Noreen.
The real estate agent described the young lady that was with Dr. Boyle as being pregnant and very young, and certainly that didn't resemble the photos that I had of Noreen.
She went on to explain how Jack pressured her client to allow him to move in early, insisting that the house should be entirely emptied by January 1st. But it was her last comment that truly shook Messmore and his colleagues.
He says, if I were to break into the basement floor, what will I hit? What is underneath that floor?
And what was your response to that then?
Why? Why would you want to do something like this?
Next to Michelle Barth in the police list of clues were the hardware stores. Often, before or after committing a
'Cause he's
murder,
probably
the culprit
burying
will
his
buy
wife under
supplies
the
to
floor,
help
bro.
dispose of the body, as seen in our recent coverage of the Sarah Maynard case. After making a few calls, Messmore got a new clue. Apparently, 2 days before Noreen's disappearance, Jack rented a jackhammer at a local store. This information, paired with the realtor's declaration, got Messmore thinking. It seemed almost too crazy to be true, but he got himself a warrant to search the Erie property, bringing with him a crew of technicians equipped with shovels and pickaxes.
Yeah, there's no way he didn't bury his wife
technicians
under the
were
floor.
on the floor and looking around, One of them went over to the wall of the concrete block basement and said, "There's a little bit of new concrete. It's like a mortar or something. It's kind of soft."
The whole basement had
That's
already
when
been
you know,
renovated when
Shoddy.
the police arrived. The floor was freshly painted gray, there was green carpet over most of the area, and there even was brand new shelving on each side of the room. But Messmore didn't let any of this fool his judgment. When one of his men told him that the floor was soft, he asked them to tear the whole place apart.
Yeah, you would
At that
have
point,
to.
after we knocked down the shelving and pulled up the indoor-outdoor carpeting, it was apparent that there was a little depression in the floor.
They started digging, and soon enough were struck by the foul smell. Indeed, there was a body entombed in the concrete,
Yep.
rendered
See?
unrecognizable
Bro.
by weeks of decomposition. Jack was immediately arrested, and a forensic team was dispatched to the scene. They found nothing in the house, nothing in the basement, and even looked at his cars.
We did vacuum sweepings from all the cars. We tried to see if there was any association with a victim in the car that would not be normal, and there was really nothing that was drawn of any value from the analysis of the Bureau.
Stuck with an unrecognizable body without any physical evidence to back their claims, the police
Oh
didn't
my
have
God,
much
that
to bring
scared
to the
me.
upcoming trial, so Detective Nesbitt
Oh my god! Thank you so much for the raid, Leo! I'm so sorry, that scared the crap out of me. Oh my god. How was your stream? Welcome, welcome! Here, let me show you out really quick. I hope your stream was good. How's your day going? Welcome in, Raiders! I hope you guys are having a good day so far. Remember to get a snack, take a break, you know, chill out. I don't want to hold you hostage here or anything. Okay, I'm making sure I spelt this right. There we go. I spelt it right. Let's go. Yeah, I hope you're having a good day. It was good. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm Patty. I got to sleep earlier, so I got to sleep early, so I ended it earlier than usual. Oh, I see. Oh, good. I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much for the raid, by the way. Oh my gosh. What were you playing? I hope you have a good sleep too, by the way. Feel free to leave. If you gotta leave and sleep, that's totally cool, but thank you so much. I don't know, I'm out of words. I'm a little zoned. If you couldn't tell, I'm a little zoned. We were doing Dragon Dogma 2. Oh, I have no clue what that game is about. Well, my friend has been playing it, and he says it's really good, so. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm Patty. We're watching some true crime, and we are drawing. This is what I got so far. This is the fit. It's a little scuff. I just realized that I added onto the leg so that it's not hitting the ground the same way it is. But we're gonna ignore that. It's fine. My drawing skills are not 10 out of 10. But if you guys want to stay and chill with us, I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for the raid. Oh my gosh. We are in the middle of a true crime case, and we're watching. It's called The Case of Color Your Laundry. Oh, so cute. The emotes are so cute. Yeah, we're watching The Case of Color Your Laundry. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I don't want to say that it's wrong, but basically, and also I totally have trigger warnings on the top of the page. If you guys are uncomfortable, please feel free to leave, just because it's not everybody's cup of tea. But what's happened so far in the case, we're just about over, it's about 20 minutes, is this 11-year-old boy, his father and his mother got into an argument, and then his mother disappeared, and he is leading to believe that his father had murdered his mother. And so they're just about at the point where this 11-year-old boy and this detective have been colluding together to try to figure out what really happened, while also trying to keep the 11-year-old boy safe, because obviously for the longest time he was living with his father, and his father was kind of catching on as to what he was doing and talking to the police and everything. They have raided his father's home, his new home, where he just renovated the basement. Super thrilling, right? Because, you know, when I buy a brand new home with a finished basement, I want to renovate the basement and add some new concrete, right? Because concrete, like, you know, like, I don't know. It's so dumb because it's like, you buy this brand new house and you think that police are not going to check it when you've obviously renovated the basement and the concrete on the floor is still soft. And there's like so many signs to him leading the fact that he buried the body in the basement of his new home. Like, he even asked the realtor, he was like, So would I be able to dig into the ground? Would I be able to get into that concrete? Like, you know? And it's like, oh my god, bro. It's just so dumb. I think, I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of murderers are really stupid. I think that, like if they gotta watch a couple true crime videos, I'm not saying that you should murder anyone, I'm just saying that, like, why are they so dumb? Anyways, we'll continue.
Moore paid a visit to Collier while he was in foster care. He intended to ask him to testify against his father at the trial, but before that, Collier had a few questions concerning his mother.
Yeah, so that was the first question I asked him was, did she look like she had peace? Was she okay? I think he said yes, she was dead, but these are the things that you go through and when you are trying to come to grips with something that is this tragic and dramatic. It's like my whole life had just changed in the blink of an eye.
At this point, both sides of his family completely cut ties with him, claiming that he was too young to testify and that he shouldn't be taken seriously.
Are you
The detective in
serious?
front of him seemed to be the only person able to...
Pause. We pause it again. Both sides of his family cut ties with the 11-year-old boy who fought for his mother because he knew that she was murdered by his father. I understand his father's family, like his side of the family, cutting ties with this boy, but not his mother's side. Oh, he's too young to testify, he shouldn't do it. He wants to do it. He has already put in the effort and, like, everything that he needs to do in order to testify. He has done the work. Just let him do it. This is probably his way of getting closure too, right? And them trying to be like, oh, he's too young, da-da-da-da, is like, you're just undermining all the effort he put in to find his mom because nobody else was going to do it and he did it. It's so crazy. I don't understand sometimes.
Understand him
Oh,
in the
that dog's
turmoil.
cute.
In a moment of weakness, the boy broke down crying in front of Messmore.
I'm a kid sitting in foster care.
Yeah.
Imagine this whirlwind
The only
of a
person who's there
case
is a
in the
detective.
hometown. I remember sitting in the bedroom and just kind of in this really dark place. It's at 12 years old, what is my life gonna look like? I have no family. I've lost my mother and my father. My family, nobody wants anything to do with me, right?
Messmore looked him dead in the eyes and told him that there was still a way to make this right. If he would agree to testify, he could finally prove them wrong and get justice for his mother. Without any hesitation, Collier said yes.
When the trial came, of course, I was not going to lie for him. I was not going to say I don't want to testify or anything. To me, felt like a lie because I know what happened. I knew she was dead. I knew all this. I was working with police,
So
all
sad.
that. I knew that this was the right thing to do, as much as it hurt.
Yeah, for real. He
5
was not
months
gonna let
later,
his mother
on
do
June
that,
4th,
go through that though.
1990, the trial started and Collier finally came face to face with his father.
Testimony continues today in the
Seriously?
most notorious criminal trial in Richland County history. Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife Noreen and burying her body in the basement of his new home in Erie, Pennsylvania.
The 12-year-old son of accused murderer.
And it's like, how can he be accused of these things if they literally found his wife's body under his house? It can't be like I guess obviously it's a murder trial, so until he's proven da 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 da. But it's like, it's not an accusation when we literally have evidence that he did it. Like, his body is under his house. Yeah, they said allegedly. They said might not have been him, guys, but allegedly he killed his wife. No, even if he didn't kill his wife, the body of his wife was underneath his freshly renovated fucking basement, bro. Like, what? I don't understand. That's so insane.
Old Dr. John Boyle finally took the stand.
Will you tell us who you are?
I'm Collier Landry Boyle.
Collier started by telling the jury of his father's infidelities, recalling his encounter with Sherry
Oh
wearing his
my.
mother's ring, the pictures he found in Jack's truck, and the loud noises and screams he heard on New Year's Eve. Afterward, Sherry too took the stand.
We have a defendant here who was a womanizer, and he would engage in one affair after another. Sir, have you recently had a baby?
Yes, I have.
And who is the father of that baby?
Jack Boyle.
The motive, prosecutors say, so he could move into that house with younger girlfriend Sherry Campbell, who was carrying his baby.
It's actually better than a soap opera because it happened right in our own town.
I did not kill
It's
Noreen.
not a
I never
soap
harmed her
opera.
at
It's
all.
something that
A Richland
actually
County
happened.
jury watched a gruesome videotape of Noreen Boyle's body being exhumed from a shallow concrete grave. It was like seeing something out of a horror movie, only this was real.
After a month-long trial, the jury rendered their judgment.
We, the jury in this case, find the defendant, John F. Boyle, Jr., guilty of the offense as charged in the indictment.
The judge said he would tolerate no outbursts in the courtroom, but they cheered in the hallway when Dr. John Boyle was found guilty of killing his wife, Noreen.
But Collier's ordeal wasn't over yet. For years, members of his family tried to force a retrial. Collier's uncle even went as far as claiming that he talked to Noreen after the murder and that the body they found belonged to someone else. From his jail cell, Jack reviewed the autopsy report and spotted many errors and inconsistencies. This prompted the prosecution to exhume Noreen's body 4 years later and perform a DNA test, since the technique didn't exist at the time of trial.
That was where he tried to poke a hole, and a major hole, in the prosecution's case. But forensic evidence actually backfired on him and showed conclusively that it was, in fact,
that it was Noreen.
Following these events, Collier and Elizabeth were separated. He was sent to a loving foster family, grew up in relative normalcy, and eventually became a successful filmmaker. But his father never stopped harassing him. Every few months, he would receive a letter from jail, and this went on for most of his life.
Over that 25 years, my father did everything he could in his power to have me rescind my testimony, to help him get out, anything that this man could do to manipulate me.
But 6 years ago, Collier set his foot to the ground and took matters into his own hands once again. He set out to produce a documentary finally lifting the veil upon his side of the story.
Now, in the film's final scene, I confront my incarcerated father in prison. I'm gonna have that moment where I can ask this man why.
But Collier never got his answer. Jack's disillusion was just too ingrained. He simply had to accept that he'll probably never know why his father did what he did. But what seemed like a failure ended up helping him realize something much more important.
Ignore me taking the entire body away so I can draw some lines.
Looks into the past. But what now? What now looks to the future?
In a way, his story has never been about the why, but always about what now. And what he's doing now is helping others move past their traumas through his own victim advocacy.
So when it comes to resilience, biography is not destiny. You can be both the author and the audience of your life.
Yeah, that TED Talk? It looked like a TED Talk, and I don't want to say nothing. Since being denied parole in 2010, Jack Boyle finally admitted to some degree of the responsibility during the production of Collier's documentary A Murder in Mansfield in 2017. Collier and Elizabeth haven't been reunited since their forced separation 33 years ago. Similarly, the daughter of Jack and Sherry also remains unknown. That's sad.
All the members of my family had been killed.
It's just insane. We might watch this. It's insane to think about the fact that, like, nobody believed him and people in his side of the family are still trying to, also, you can see these lines are really fucked up on my drawing, are still trying to prove him wrong, even though we all know that he was right. Was it because he was a child? Was it because they just really didn't think that Jack did it? I don't know, like, why would people on his side of the family, like, come out of the woodwork and be like, I talked with Noreen the other day, bro. Like, she's not dead. Like, we should let this guy out of jail. That 11-year-old has no clue what he's talking about. Like, are you serious? Are you serious, bro? I don't understand. It's so silly.
This is
Okay. This one's called Serial Killer Outsmarts Cops. 30 years later, 15-year-old gets revenge. The case of Charlie Otero. I think that's how you pronounce it. These videos are a little short. They're great stories. They are a little short, though. I wish they had more information. I really enjoy listening to, her name is Eleanor Neal, and she does a great representation of these. These are like, they give more almost like spooky, intense vibes compared to like, a documentary sort of feel. But we'll watch this one, and then we might watch one other one, but we have been going on for quite some time, so we'll see how long this gets us, because this is about half an hour.
15-year-old Charlie Otero.
I'm just vibing with y'all, though.
January 15th, 1974. Charlie left for school early to study for a test. He had a loving family and a bright future ahead, and his only care in the world was to make his parents proud. That same night, all of it would be taken away as he returned home and found his family murdered.
4 members of the Otero family were found bound, gagged, and strangled.
The investigators looked shaken. What they saw, that would shake anybody.
Fear spread quickly in the community. Doors and windows were locked tight.
We thought it was a one-off. a one-time deal. We were wrong.
This is not
April
working. I'm
4th,
about to
3 months
dry.
later,
Hold on.
21-year-old Catherine Bright is found stabbed in her home, just 2 miles away from the Oteros.
There's a pattern developing here.
What kind of leads do you have?
Well, very honestly, we have no solid leads at all.
Every woman in Wichita was scared to death.
December 1977, police receive a letter from the killer himself.
How many people do I have to kill before I get my name in the paper?
Good evening. We have exclusive details. A new communication that could be from the killer.
Those releases weren't meant for the public. They were meant for BTK.
BTK.
We truly feel that he is trying to communicate with us.
Letters that contain puzzles, postcards that contain clues.
It was very shocking to see a doll with the exact same bondage from 30 years before.
This is one of the most challenging cases that I've ever been involved with.
For over 30 years, a serial killer spreads terror across Wichita, Kansas, evading police at every turn.
Where is he? Where did he go? If we don't get him fast, we're never gonna get him.
But one man will do whatever it takes.
No matter what happened to me, I didn't care.
To get
If
revenge.
we don't get them fast,
I
but
was
it's been
going
30
to-
years.
Shank him if I could. I wanted revenge for my family. That's all I could think about.
It's 1974. The Otero family are new in Wichita, Kansas. Joseph Otero, a military man with a zest for life, and his wife Julia, loving mother to their 5 children, do their best to build a future for the kids. Charlie Otero is the oldest, and the
I'm
young boy
struggling, bro.
admires his parents.
My mom and dad had this relationship of unbelievable love. You know, he adored her. It's the kind of love you wish you could find.
Charlie is 15 years old, a grade A student with a bright future ahead. He helps look after his younger siblings and only wishes to make his parents proud.
My mother cared for everybody. She didn't have a mean bone in her body. My mother had told me that the only thing she ever prayed for herself was to die peacefully in her sleep.
Oh my.
And that's the one thing she did not get. It had been snowing. It was the day of testing for school. I asked my dad to take me to school early that day so that I could get to that early study hall. Danny and Carmen had to go with me because they were riding with him also.
After school is over, Charlie walks home with his 2 young siblings, excited to tell his mom and dad about the perfect score he got on his test. As they approach the house, Charlie notices the gate to the backyard is open. He can sense something is wrong.
Walked over to the back gate, opened it up, and my dog Lucky was outside. So I said, "Hey, Lucky, what are you doing out here, buddy?" I opened up the kitchen door, and I noticed that my mom's purse was on the stove, flipped up. There was no sound, nobody. And so I was like, I yelled out, "Is anybody here?" And one of my siblings yelled out, "Charlie, come quick. Mom and Dad are playing a bad trick on us."
Oh no, because his siblings are
So
so
I ran
young.
down the hall, and I saw my mother and my father, and well, my life changed.
Joseph Otero, Charlie's father, is found lying on the floor with the belt around his neck. His wife Julia lays motionless next to him, also tied up.
As soon as I touched them, I knew they were dead. I could smell the fear and the pain that they had gone through. I could feel it all in the room. He basically died looking in each other's eyes.
Charlie asks his younger brother to call the police, but they quickly find out the phone line has been cut. He then takes his siblings out of the house and begs a neighbor to get help.
The police came, and they took me away. I tell the police to go to my brother and sister's school and stop Joey and Josie from going home. They cannot go home and find us like this. Bring them to me. I gotta have them with me right now.
I have to go for now, Patty. I'll catch you stream later. Okay, bye, Hollow. Thanks for hanging out. I was focused. I'm listening to the story, right? But so he took 2 of his siblings home already, but he has 2 more siblings, so there's 5 of them. And so two of those siblings were already at school, and he was pleading, like, please don't let them come home on their own or else they will have to find that. And I guess the siblings that were with him were so young that they didn't realize at the time, but these other two siblings were older and they would realize what had happened, right? Which is terrible.
And finally, a police captain came up to me and said, Charlie, we got to tell you that Joey and Josie were in the house.
Oh, no.
It felt like somebody had ripped my chest open and pulled my heart out.
Joey was just like a little man. I mean, he was already a lady killer, good looking,
Oh, he's
totally
so
athletic.
cute looking. He's so tiny.
Josie was a poet, an artist.
She's gorgeous
very
too.
Quiet. They had their whole lives ahead of them.
So sad.
When police entered the house, they found 9-year-old Joey Jr. bound in his room with a bag over his face. They also identify marks in the carpet that show the killer sat down to watch the little boy. Upon searching the house, a cop went into the basement and bumped into what he thought was a punching bag. After turning on the light, he found out it was actually 11-year-old Josephine hanging from a pipe. She had been abused.
No.
And I thought right then, there is no God. I hate God. I hate the world. I really lost my religion at that moment.
The investigators looked shaken. What they saw and what had been done to the children. That would shake anybody.
This was an average, normal, nuclear family. Nobody could fathom exactly why they were selected for this crime.
Most people at that time thought it was a drug deal. We thought it was a one-off, a one-time deal. We were wrong.
February
That's
1974,
better, sort of.
1 month later. Charlie is sent to New Mexico along with his brother Danny and his sister Carmen to go live with an uncle. They're to start a new life there.
Okay,
but to
that
Charlie,
kinda works.
life has lost all purpose.
I need to
When
make
my family
this
was killed,
spot
you have an
bigger,
empty
though.
feeling in your heart. It's like it's not there anymore.
PTSD kicked in.
Let's make this better.
Started drinking, using drugs, trying to get the memory out of my head, trying to get the visions out of my head.
Every day, he catches himself watching over his shoulder, convinced that the man who killed his family will come for him too. All he knows and cares about is that the killer was never caught.
I should have been there. I should have been home. If I hadn't gone to school early that day, I would have been there.
April 4th, 1974. Just 2 miles away from where Charlie used to live, a 19-year-old man is running down the street with blood on his face when he catches a few passersby and begs them to call the police. He says, "Please help my sister. Someone broke into our house, and she's still there." When police arrive at the boy's home, they find 21-year-old Catherine Bright tied up with nylon stockings. She begs the officers to remove the binding because she can't breathe. The woman has been stabbed several times. After being rushed to the hospital, she dies. Her brother Kevin, who came out searching for help, was shot twice in the head, but he's in stable condition.
Initially, the Bright murder was not associated with the Otero killing.
Pause. He was shot twice in the head and he was still going? First of all, a legend. Second of all, he must have been running on pure adrenaline, right? Because if he was shot twice in the head, but he knew that his sister was bound and gagged in the house, that he was just going so that he could get help for his sister. But that's insane.
There were not a lot of similarities in the method of killing.
Catherine Bright had been stabbed, but the Otero family had been strangled. We noticed that the nylon stockings were tied with square knots, such as had been seen at the Otero crime scene.
In both crime scenes, the telephone line was cut prior to entry.
That wasn't enough to actually connect those two cases.
But they were
However,
similar.
police are able to make a composite sketch with the help of Kevin, who saw the killer up close. Right away, the sketch is shared with every news outlet in the state of Kansas. Everyone is on the lookout for who might fit the description. Thousands of tips flood in, with no solid lead. October 1974, 6 months later, police finally make an arrest after one young man confessed he did kill the Otero family, along with 2 of his friends. The news comes as a relief when the local papers hit the stands. Shortly after, a news reporter receives a call from an anonymous man.
The person on the other end says, go to the library, you will find a letter and an engineering book.
The letter started out with, I did this. I did it myself. I did it alone. So let's set this straight.
It shared information regarding the crime scene that only someone who had been in there would know about. Josephine, position, hanging by the neck in the northwest part of the basement, hand-tied with bind cord, noose with 4 or 5 turns.
He wasn't remorseful about the Otero homicide.
He wanted to be praised.
Somebody else was stealing
yeah,
his thunder.
he wanted people to know that he did it.
He wasn't going to stand for it.
At the end of the letter, he mentioned that the code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them.
BTK.
He indicated that he was a serial killer to be and threatened to continue to kill.
Since investigators are unable to trace the author of the letter, the man who calls himself BTK disappears, and for the rest of 1974, no one hears a word from the killer. 1975 goes by, then 1976, and still not a word. Everyone in Wichita lives in fear, but for Charlie Otero, nothing has changed.
Terrifying.
Living 800 miles away, he doesn't hear news of this second murder and has never heard of the moniker of BTK.
So he just didn't know that
Unable to cope with the loss of his family, he becomes prone to violence.
I lost all hope. I lost all desire to care about anybody
Which
or
is so
believe
sad.
in anything. All I thought about was violence and pain and suffering. What had happened to my family became who I was. And little by little, I got worse.
1977, Charlie manages to graduate from high school, but he finds trouble wherever he can. Now 18 and no longer a minor, Charlie turns to the streets and becomes a drifter.
That's better.
He lives outside the law, stealing for food, riding around in his motorcycle. The smart boy with a bright future is long gone,
I miss a
while
lot
a
of
new
things,
serial
though.
killer is beginning to thrive. It's March 17th, 1977, when BTK strikes again.
Police get a call from a man who says a little boy just came knocking at my door saying, "My mom is dead, my mom is dead, call police, a man killed my mom."
Police respond to the boy's home and find a woman lying dead in her own bed.
She was found with a bag over her head, tied with a ligature around her neck.
They learn from neighbors that the woman is Shirley Vian, a single mother of 3 children. Her son, 5-year-old Steve, is the one who called for help. It appears he witnessed his mother's murder.
How do you ever recover from that?
No.
How does a 5-year-old ever recover from that?
Yeah, having to watch his mother pass away.
In my mind, I was 5, but I was 6 years old. Just turned 6. My mom, she was sick in bed. Sent me block up the road for a can of soup, you know. And on my way back, man stops me. Shows me a picture, woman and child.
Right away, the young boy can see the man is holding up a picture of his mom and his brother.
Asked me, did I know who it was? I said, no, sir. He went ahead and let me go. About 15 minutes later, he come knocking on our door. I opened it, and there stood the same guy, and he had a gun. Mom said, do as he says. He locked us in the bathroom, put his kids in there, put blanket, couple toys in there, pushed the bed against the other door. I peeked through a crack in the door.
Oh,
I seen everything. Stripped down, naked, taped her hands behind her back, face down. My brother, he broke the bathroom window, hollering for help. I ran through the door, broke it. After I ran around and tried to untie the rope, I could have got the rope loose. There might have been hope. But I was a 5-year-old boy, you know. What the hell could I do?
Well, yeah, it was not worth.
Image burned in my brain.
So sad.
It'll never go away.
Police now have 3 homicides. The Oteros, Catherine Bright, and Shirley Vian. BTK has become a serial killer, just like he promised.
Dispatcher? Yes, you will find a homicide at Beach 43 South Pershing, Nancy Park.
We received a call about 8:20 from an individual that hung up the phone, and officers came out and we have checked, and we do have a young lady that is a victim of a homicide. Was she shot or stabbed? No, she appears to have been strangled this time.
With us right now is Chief of Police Richard Lemunion.
BTK has killed 7 people, Chief.
Imagine the fear in the town, too. You don't know when he's going to strike, what he's going to do, how he's going to kill. You can't be prepared for anything because he doesn't seem to have any sort of pattern to his actions. It doesn't matter, like, who he's going to kill, like how he's going to do it, when he's going to do it. It's a very terrifying thought because a lot of serial killers do have patterns and you can kind of pick up on that and either determine what to do to almost avoid it or almost not completely, right? Because, but like how to try to catch him or go about doing it. And it's very terrifying to think that like he just does it so sporadically that they don't even know what he's going to do next.
What kind of leads do you have?
Very honestly, we have no solid leads at all. We have general leads, we have circumstantial evidence, we have absolutely nothing that will point us to any one particular individual.
It appears somebody between the early morning hours of Saturday, April 27th, cut phone lines to Hedges' home, broke into the house, and kidnapped the 53-year-old.
The only thing that is present in all of these cases, in which case he's murdered or kidnapped somebody so far, is that he cuts the phone lines before he goes to their home.
Park City woman.
We have an individual who apparently has the uncontrollable desire to kill at times.
Fear spread quickly in the community. People began looking over their shoulders. Doors and windows were locked tight.
The most important thing that everyone can do is certainly be aware that we do have a very serious problem.
The body was nude and police say badly decomposed. A pair of knotted pantyhose were found lying in the ditch beside it.
The murders in Wichita were all close together. Everyone within a few miles of the killer's playground fears for their own life. But those who survived know what kind of monster BTK.
What? Welcome in, but I have no clue what that means. I'm only 20. I'm not old enough to have children, my guy. I'm just letting you know. So is that a no? My guy, I have no clue what that means.
Hey, really is.
Hey, Patty, what's up, Ace? How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. This is so fucking wild to ask. On God, bro. What does it mean? I don't know. Sorry to let you down. Very confused. My God, we don't know you. Sir, this is a Wendy's. So out of pocket drinking true crime. Binge, everyone I know is a pro skater. I want to ask them. A pro skater? My, bro, not me. I literally, it depends on what kind of skating we're doing. I don't skateboard, have roller skates, barely can use those roller skates. Don't know what that has to do with me being your mother on a Cash App sponsor, but I don't know what either of those things are, so I don't know what to tell you, man, bro. I'm so confused. We're just gonna continue the episode. Sorry, my guy.
Charlie Otero, Kevin Bright, Steve Relford. Steve is now 20 years old, and just like Charlie, he lives a troubled life.
Trying to get a sugar
Steve,
mother. Not me, I'm poor.
Felt very bad for him
P-O-O-R.
for what happened to him. Because BTK didn't just kill his mother. BTK really killed him too.
My memory of my mom took over everything for a while.
Barking up more wrong tree on God, bro.
Care where I went, care if I died. Still sometimes I wish I did.
Charlie Otero is now 34. His relationships are far from the picture-perfect love his parents had. He now...
Oh! You want me to pretend to be like... Yeah, I'm sorry, my guy. I cannot do that. This tree is unbarkable. You guys are too much. You guys are fucking too much. I'm sorry. You cannot use my internet. You cannot use my likeness. There we go. Better. I don't know what to say. My ID? I give up. I have no thoughts in my head.
Now has a son, a new spark in his life. He named him Joseph after his dad and his baby brother. It's a shot at redemption for Charlie, but in his heart, the anger and hatred has boiled up
Now
for
I get
far
embarrassed
too
to
long.
ask
I wanted revenge. I wanted revenge for my family. That's all I could think about.
The year is 2004. There has been no news of the serial killer in over 12 years. Charlie has reached rock bottom. He's in jail, serving time for domestic violence for the last 4 years. He knows if his own parents were here, they would be ashamed of him. His son, who's now 16 years old, comes to visit him from time to time, but it only breaks his heart.
30 years ago today, 15-year-old Charlie Otero comes home from school to find his entire family murdered in this house on North Edgemore. And so begins the most infamous unsolved serial killing spree in Wichita history.
Wichita be like,
BTK might have been able to
come
get
back
away
from
with
all
it
y'all.
for the
Oh,
rest of his
good.
life
Thanks for coming in,
and
my
not
guy.
let his massive ego get in the way.
It's January of 2004. For the last 13 years, no one knows what happened to the serial killer. The media are doing stories
Have a
on the
good day,
30th
my guy.
anniversary.
I hope you find that mother. I hope you find a mother, bro. You got this. I believe in you. It ain't me, but it could be somebody.
Of BTK's first murder. According to the Wichita newspaper, it appears someone is also writing a book on the BTK case.
BTK did not like that at all. He did not like that there was someone else writing his story. There was someone else getting publicity for the murders that he wanted credit for.
And good evening. We have exclusive details. A new communication that could be from the serial killer BTK.
Breaking his silence after 25 years.
Serial killer apparently has resurfaced.
Wichita Police Department on Friday received information. The Wichita Eagle had received a letter.
The letter contains Vicky Wegerle's driver's license, which was never recovered by investigators, as well as pictures that will shock police.
Pictures of Vicky
Yo,
Wegerle
oh
on her
my
floor
God.
in her bedroom. It's determined were not taken by anyone in law enforcement. They were taken by the killer.
Everyone was in shock. No way. There's no way this is true. It can't be that he's still around.
But when they examine the return address, it reads Bill Thomas Kilman.
BTK.
In the following months, BTK sends a steady stream of communications to the news media, letters, puzzles, all accompanied by a plastic doll.
What am I waiting for? I paused the show. I'm waiting. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Does the queen have that? Yeah, stop. Bitch, what the like do you even mean? No, look, I didn't even draw. This could be her booty, guys. There we go. Hold on. Let me add. Thick. When you're double cheeked up on a Tuesday, you know? That ass clapping in the wind type shit. No, indeed not. Indeed not, bro. I'm not that skilled of an artist.
Identical to those of the victims.
It was very shocking to see a doll with the exact same bondage from 30 years before.
As the FBI told us early in this investigation, if you can keep him communicating, he will make a mistake.
The following facts about BTK are being made available to the public in hopes of identifying BTK.
Investigators become more and more present in the news, sharing facts about the case, giving BTK the publicity he wants, all the while trying to appeal to his ego.
This is one of the most challenging cases that I've ever been involved with.
Those releases weren't meant for the public. They were meant for BTK.
We truly feel that he is trying to communicate with us.
That was kind of an invitation to BTK.
Because they've been acquired over a long career, like
Between March 2004 and January 2005, Wichita Police
Customer
received a
service
total of 5
skills.
communications from the killer. On January 25th, the investigation takes a shocking turn. The latest letter is found in a cereal
I can't do
box,
this turn.
left at a Home Depot parking lot. Inside, the killer writes to police that he now wants to change his communication method.
BTK asked police, can you trace a floppy disk? Please be honest.
This guy thought that we wouldn't lie to him because we were enjoying things as much as he was.
you can only draw stick
law
figures.
enforcement
Oh god,
was not
literally.
honest.
They say
I can
no,
barely draw, bro.
It cannot be traced.
To respond to the killer, police need to post a message through the classified ads.
The response was to be, Rex, it'll be okay. My fear was that he would send us a floppy disk, that it would lead us to maybe a false suspect, and then he'd know we lied to him.
If this is a trick, BTK could disappear forever. However, for the first time, investigators have something they didn't have 30 years earlier: video surveillance from the Home Depot
Video
parking lot.
surveillance from the
quality
Home
is
Depot
poor,
parking
making it
lot.
impossible to see the man's face.
You wouldn't be able to identify anybody, but Ralph took one look at that film and said that's a Jeep Cherokee.
This was truly the
said, "I
first
know my
piece of
cars."
evidence we had.
Indeed it is.
That BTK didn't give us.
Just days later, a floppy disk arrives at the Wichita Police Department
Ooh,
from
that's too
BTK. Right away, forensics analyze the disks. In a matter of moments, they're able to find the software registration to a
Fuck,
user
that scared the
named
crap out of
Dennis,
me. Home
and
Depot for the
organization
win. On
name
God, Home
Christ
Depot and their
Lutheran Church.
cameras.
Went to, I think
Swear
it was
I'm
a
gonna go get
Google
my
search,
paint later today.
and found Christ Lutheran Church. And when he clicked on the officers, there was a picture of a man named Dennis Rader.
We think it can't be this simple. Maybe this is a setup.
Dennis Rader was president of his church. He was a compliance officer for the city of Park City.
We've been tracking it down. The dogs are somewhat territorial as well as vicious.
He was living a normal life.
There ain't no way he
was
gave
a
himself
Cub
up
Scout
so
leader.
easy.
He's out there not only using knots, but he's teaching people how to tie square knots.
He worked for ADT, the alarm company. He's in your house installing the alarm system, and he's a serial killer.
That's insane.
And then we drove to Park City.
Oh, he
as
messed
fast
up
as we
so
could.
bad. I
That was
gotta
a
pause. He's being so like, so meticulous throughout the entire case, but then he goes, "Hey, yo, police department, just be honest, guys. Be honest with me, okay? We're buddies, right? So just, don't lie. Can you track a floppy disk?" And then the police department said, "No, bro, we can't track floppy disk, bro. Nah, like, no." And he's like, "Okay, I got you. Easy. I'll send you the floppy disk." And then he outs himself because obviously they could fucking track it, and you didn't think they were gonna lie to you? Oh my god, bro. Like, they were like, literally the police were on edge because they were like, "It's a trap, it's a setup." He knows, and he knew we fucked with him. He knew we lied. And the guy's like, "Oh, my bad. I'm actually just stupid and didn't think about doing that." Like, even the police were like, "This shit is so dumb. Like, there's no way he did it himself." And he's like, "Yeah, totally. My bad." Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Investigators put Dennis Rader under 24-hour surveillance while they build the case against him.
Back in 1974, we couldn't even spell DNA. The technology didn't exist back then. But at Josephine's feet, there was a pool. The crime scene investigator had incredible imagination. He took a pillowcase and he cut it up into several small pieces, and then he dipped it in that pool. 31 years later, a genetic profile would be drawn from one of those preserved pieces of evidence.
Ever since the coming of DNA technology, police have been looking for
That's
a match
crazy.
to that genetic profile.
I gotta
Now,
pause.
they have the next
It's crazy that the person at the time, the forensic investigator, he knew that one day, they did this a lot back in the day when they did like sweeps of the crime scene. Is a lot of forensic investigators knew that one day they would be able to test genetics. Today was not that day, but if they held on to evidence, that one day they would be able to test genetics. And so it's so helpful in so many cases when a forensic officer did this, because maybe the case was cold for a really long time, but they go back and they can now test DNA, and they now have DNA because this guy decided to save it, which is so sick of him. Like, good job, buddy.
best thing. They find out Rader has a daughter who attended Kansas State University.
His daughter, Carrie, she had a pap smear, and I was able to get a court order for the sample. I drove it as quickly as I could to our forensic laboratory.
I recall it as being the longest 2 days in the world. I'll never forget the lieutenant called me and said, "Got the DNA back, it's him."
BTK is Dennis Rader.
On February 25th,
Imagine your father being a
2005,
serial killer.
Police
Just putting
arrest
that out there.
Dennis Rader on his way home for lunch in Park City. As he is faced
Take
with the
'em out,
investigators
boys.
who finally caught him, the serial killer who terrorized the state of Kansas for the last 30 years is stunned.
Lieutenant Landwehr pulls up in a Ziploc evidence baggie with the purple floppy disk in it. He slides it in front of Rader and says, "You know what this is?" Dennis Rader starts poking his finger forcefully on this floppy disk. And he says, "I got a question."
I need to ask. Sure, do I?
Why'd you lie to me?
How can you lie?
How can you lie to
Rader
me?
thought that Landwehr was doing this for the fun of it, that they had a good thing going.
How can you lie? Because I was trying to catch you.
The BTK
Yeah,
murder
obviously. Are
mystery
you
may be nearing.
Just notice a lot of these killers are the same glasses. Bro, it's the killer glasses. No. Him being in this clip, him being so pissed off that they lied to him, 12-hour stream, right? Indeed, no. I'm going to take a break after this, and then I might come back later. But him going, how could you lie to me, bro? I thought we had this friendship going. Bitch, you murdered like 8 people. And you terrorized the city for 30 years. We don't have this friendship connection going, bro. Like, that's not what's happening here.
His finger forcefully on this floppy disk. And he says, I got a question.
I need to ask. Sure. Do you like? How can you lie?
How
Raider
could
thought
you
that
lie to
Blandware
me?
was doing this for the fun of it, that they had a good thing going.
How can you lie? Because I was trying to catch you.
Yeah, on God.
The
Like,
BTK
hello, are you
murder mystery
stupid?
may be nearing an end.
That's right. Wichita police and city leaders confirming today that a person of interest taken in for questioning yesterday is in fact BTK.
The bottom line, BTK is arrested.
I believe most women in Wichita were very emotional that day because we really didn't believe it would never happen again.
Maybe he thought
And
he
you're
had a
like,
forbidden
we're
romance
finally
going on with the
safe.
station. Yeah.
We're finally safe.
Although many in Wichita are relieved by the news of the arrest, most are shocked to learn who BTK is. People knew Dennis Rader for his role at the local church. For the family of his victims, the news is horrifying.
What could be worse than to piously pretend every Sunday that you're this example of Christianity? You can be the worst form of social sewage that ever crept out from under a rock.
Crazy.
The day Dennis Rader was caught, I was working to do landscaping. I got the phone call from my sister. She said they got him. I said, yeah, right. She goes, no, they really got him. They swear it's him. I put the phone down, and I remember bushes flying 10 feet high over my head. I was ripping them out of the ground.
Charlie Otero, who has been struggling to put his life back on track, is confronted with the memory of his family's murder once again. Dennis Rader, the man who murdered his parents, his little brother, and his sister in cold blood, now has his face on every newspaper and TV channel in the country. For Charlie, the hate that was buried in a shallow grave comes boiling out, and now he will have to face him in court.
The man accused of being the BTK serial killer returns to a Kansas courtroom this morning. Families torn apart by the BTK killings will be able to look someone in the eye.
My mother died at the hands of one
So
of the
sad.
most disgusting social malignancies that's ever been introduced into this world. You always imagine the face of the devil. And here's this Elmer Fudd-looking little
Elmer
oaf
Fudd.
with a stupid haircut and a dumb look on his face. And I
Damn.
thought,
Roasted.
oh, you're real intimidating. Yeah, you could probably scare a woman in the middle of the night, but you're just a little cockroach.
June 26, 2005. Dennis Rader is brought in front of a jury to begin his trial. Every surviving family member of each one of his victims
Ignore
shows
me,
up
I'm
in
struggling
court.
to make these straight
They
lines,
want
bro.
to make sure the monster will be put behind bars.
He
Steve,
affected
son of
so
Shirley
many
Vine, is
people,
there.
bro.
So is Charlie Otero.
I was going there with the idea of getting my hands on him. I
The
was
guy
going
whose mother was killed, his girl boss.
shank him if I could.
All right, Mr. Rader. How do you
Yeah, roasted him so hard, bro.
No matter what happened to me, I didn't care. I just wanted revenge.
Constitutions of the United States and the state of Kansas provide that a person charged with a criminal case is entitled to have a jury of 12 persons, 12 of his peers.
I wanted revenge for my family. That's all I could think about. I didn't know anything about how my family had died until he did his confession.
Well, I confronted the family, pulled a pistol, confronted Mr. Otero.
He said that my mother said that, may God forgive you for what you're doing. And it broke my heart to hear that my mom had said these things to a man while he's killing her family in front of her. I wanted revenge. I wanted revenge for my family.
For the next 45 minutes, the courtroom is quiet as the serial killer describes what happened to each of his victims.
I started strangling,
I stabbed her 2 or 3 times, either here or here.
Most of them, like Charlie, are hearing the details for the first time. Raider speaks matter-of-factly, showing no emotion
Yeah,
or
he's
remorse in the
just
killings.
talking about
I
it.
proceeded to tie her up on the bag overhead and strangled her. The kids were really banging on the door, hollered, screaming.
Charlie is waiting patiently for the perfect moment to assault and kill Dennis Rader when he gets a call he never expected.
When we returned from lunch, I was confronted by a phone call from my ex-girlfriend, the mother of my son, saying, Charlie, Joseph's been hit by a car, and he said he's in a coma. He'd been hit by a car. I told God at that time, I said, I'll give my life. I'll give you everything. Just save my son.
Charlie is asked to make a statement on behalf of his family, all the while not knowing if his son will survive the night.
My name is Charlie Otero. I am not here to recant the personal loss I have felt for over 30 years, but to speak for all the members of my family, living and dead. Not only my siblings and I, but the entire families of the Oteros and the Burgoses suffered from the actions of one Dennis Rader. Sons, daughters, uncles and cousins, a father and mothers, all lost the precious moments my family's very existence would have brought them during their lifetimes. He caused me to challenge my faith, changed my future forever, and separated me from the rest of my loved ones for over 30 years. Yet a son's love for his mother would not allow Dennis Rader to tarnish her memory. The lessons I learned from my father and mother transcend the evil doings of Dennis Rader.
You, Dennis L. Rader, to serve a term of life for each one of these counts. Those sentences that are run consecutively, one after the other.
After Dennis Rader's sentencing, Charlie Otero left his anger in the courtroom and walked out a new man.
All need for revenge went away, and all I could think about was my son. My son woke up months later, a newborn child. God answered my prayers and saved my son.
Oh.
To this day, I try to live up to that. I was wrong in letting what he did dictate who I was for so long. I take the memories of my family and use that to guide me. My family is with me all the time.
And
I do a lot of speaking
family
on
members that are
a
still
message
alive.
of hope and redemption, trying to get people to understand that they can change their ways.
After meeting another one of Rader's victims, Steve Relford, both men bonded over their common history. Charlie found a purpose in helping Steve fix his life, as Steve found a brother in Charlie.
Because of this common devastation to our lives, Steve understands me and I understand Steve like probably not too many other people do.
It seems there is a brighter future ahead for both men, as well as for other victims.
Even as we left the courtroom, a lot of us felt that, maybe we can make it. Maybe all is not lost. Maybe we can live our lives in a way that is a tribute to the one we lost. We can memorialize them through us and through what we do to better the world around us. And while that doesn't bring back whoever we've lost and that pain doesn't go away and it never will, it gives us a chance to let them live on through something that's bigger than them and something that's bigger than us.
I'm leaving this property in a body bag. How many other body bags do you need?
That one was a lot. That one was really sad. I haven't finished. I'm not even close to finish lining my drawing. But I'll talk about that really quick. That one's a lot for me. It's really upsetting, especially because the Otero child, I don't remember what his name is, Charlie. Charlie, his life was affected so deeply because of that event that his entire life was thrown off course, and he couldn't even think about the fact that he has family that is still living and he still had purpose. He was so caught up on the fact that he needed to get revenge for his family. Also, I just realized that my line art kind of sucks up here. What is this? Why is it so tall? Sorry. He didn't realize that there was a lot of people around supporting him, and he had all these people because he was so blinded by everything that he had gone through, it's really upsetting because it feels like, obviously I don't know up to fact, right? But you realize that you waste a lot of time spending or thinking about stuff like that. When there's, I mean, like, why is this bugging me so much? This bow is bugging me. When there's so many things that, like, you could have done or you could do, right? And also I think it was devastating to hear their personal statements, like when he was saying that he heard straight from the killer that his mom had forgiven the killer before he had even killed them, and or as he was killing them, which is like, I'm personally, I don't want to go too much into that. I'm not a person of faith. I think it's a little silly, but, or at least in that situation, like, you know, I don't think I could have done the same thing and forgiven somebody who was murdering my whole family, but it's almost respectable that she did do something like that. But then to have to hear it in a courtroom, and he just went through so much, and then all of a sudden, like, his son now too was injured, and he had to deal with that while dealing with the pressure from the courtroom, and it's terrible. He went through so much. It's crazy. And like all the other families too, because I think he must have killed in total 8 people. I might be wrong about that. They didn't really specify. They said 7 at first, but then they showed another person. And so I'm pretty sure he killed about 8 people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did so much terrible on the community, but he just thought it was a game. He thought it was funny. He thought it was like, haha, chill. Like, there's no problem with what I'm doing. For some reason, he was in so much delusion that he thought that the police were in on it with him. Like, they were just gonna let him continue doing this, and they weren't gonna try and like take him down, because whatever press or whatever that they were getting was more important than the lives of these people. And I don't know how he could become so deluded to think that, because it's absolutely absurd to think about. Like, you spend years and years and years trying to unmask this killer, right? And he basically leads himself to you. There is no way, at least for myself, that I would not go for it. Like, I would not, like, let this slide. Like, why would I tell the truth to somebody so vile, too? Like, why would I let him get away? If I could prevent it, I would prevent it. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of goes for any case. And so it's, like, silly to me to think him as a killer. I'm not, like, he's stupid anyways, so honestly, I don't know why I'm putting this into thought. But it's silly for me to think that him as a killer truly must have believed that the police were not going to lie to him, and then they were just going to continue whatever kind of charade they had going on. Because, like, how do you have to be that deluded? And also, I guess it's arrogance too, right? Because he just assumed that the police were like him in the aspect of they wanted fame, they wanted attention, they wanted to be known for these things. And he was rubbing it in the face of everybody around that he had done this. It wasn't other people. He was the one who did these things. He should be recognized for these things. How much longer does he have to go until his name is in the paper? And it's like, it's crazy. I don't know how you can be so delusional, honestly. It boggles my mind. Obviously, I think that a lot of murderers are really fucking stupid people, but that doesn't just go by the way that, like, they out themselves so easily. It's also just, like, the philosophy of thinking that, like, you can better yourself or you can become something by taking somebody else's life. Like, that's insane to me. Obviously, like, that's just a general public statement that most people don't understand murderers, and it's kind of hard to understand them, but that's also I was going to say FNAF. That's not what I was going to say. The fascination as to why we watch, like, true crime cases, because we're curious. It's something different from our regular opinion, and we want to know as to, like, why they would do this, because it's so outlandish in our own minds, right? And it's truly the thing, because it's like, what sort of gratification, I don't know, that he felt while doing these things, and then, like, holding it over other people's heads is insane. But you could tell within the courtroom when they were talking about how he had no expression and he had no trouble explaining what he did, is that there was not an inch of remorse. There was no, like, guilt. He was just talking about it like he had just, this is what he had for lunch. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you go clean my room. Yeah, okay. You got this, bro. I believe in you. But also, first of all, my throat is killing me. But second of all, it's just like, I don't know. It's insane to think that you can affect so many people's lives and just, like, be totally cool with it. Like, you're chilling, bro. Like, and also, like, think about the fact that, like, he had a child, and, like, the way that they found him was through his child, right? And being that child who now knows that her father was like a fucking serial killer, that's gotta be crazy too. Which like dips back into the last one where that poor 11-year-old boy, his father was a serial killer, and he stood all alone against his serial killer father, which is absurd, but it's insane. I think everything is insane, and they're so interesting, but it's also so crazy to think about. This is how far I got with my drawing. I've sketched it out, and then I'm now outlining it. I don't know how happy I am. I feel like this side's like really round and this side's like not, but you know, I'm not like the best at drawing. I don't have a lot of artistic talent, in my opinion. Obviously, like, people can debate me, but you know, shit on myself when I have the opportunity. So this is kind of what I got. I might finish it later. For now, I think I'm gonna leave it. But I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me. If you guys like this kind of stuff, let me know. I have been enjoying doing this, occasionally, especially, like, I think that doing something like this in the morning is more chill for me because I have a lot of time to, like, just chill out, hang out with you guys, talk, decompress, and then, like, you know, do more hype stuff in the evening when I got a little bit more energy. It was chill. I like spending my day off with you guys. I have lots of time, and I feel like I get more stuff done now that I have time in the morning to do things. I'm trying to pump myself up. I have things that I have to get done, and I'm just gonna do them. Right? We're just gonna do it, boys. We're just gonna do it. Bye-bye! Okay, let's see if we can find somebody to raid. I'm pretty sure I have somebody in mind, but I want to take a look really quick. I kind of like, I have to check how long they've been streaming before I like send you guys over, because I don't want to send you guys somewhere if they're just about to end stream. That would suck. I'm gonna put the raid message in chat. If you guys want to follow us over for the raid, you will get channel points in the next stream, which is going to be later tonight. We're gonna play some Roblox, and you guys are all free to join if you want to. Oh my god, I typed the first one wrong. Whoopsies, hold on. Guys, I'm sorry, that was my bad. There we go. The first one is for followers, so if you guys are following, you can use the raid to follow us over, or the raid message. The second one is for subs. So if you have access to the sub, feel free to use the second one. Oh my gosh, I have to, okay. We're gonna go over to my friend. Oh my gosh, wait. She is streaming right now. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you later.